You think you know Richard Watterson. You see a large, pink, unemployed rabbit whose life revolves around the couch, the television, and any food item that can be ingested with minimal effort. The show presents him as the lovable oaf, the source of chaotic, low-stakes comedy. His defining characteristic, we're told, is his world champion-level laziness and a breathtakingly profound lack of intelligence. But what if I told you that's the greatest lie you've ever been fed? What if this entire persona is a carefully constructed facade? A mask worn by the single most intelligent, manipulative and powerful entity in all of Elmore? Today we're not just scratching the surface, we're diving headfirst into the abyss to expose the terrifying hidden genius of Richard Watterson. Here's the thing about true intelligence. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need accolades or report cards. True intelligence is about achieving your desired outcome with the least possible resistance. And what is Richard's desired outcome? A life of absolute leisure, free from responsibility, where his every whim is catered to. By that metric, he's not just successful, he's a god. His supposed stupidity isn't a bug, it's the core feature of his operating system. It's a shield, a weapon, and a tool of psychological warfare he wields against his own family with the precision of a master strategist. Every single act of incompetence is a calculated move in a chess game no one else even knows they're playing. Let's start with a foundational text. The episode aptly titled The Laziest. On the surface, it's a simple contest. Richard challenges Gumball and Darwin to find someone lazier than him, with the losers doing the winner's chores for life. A fun, cartoonish premise. But look closer. Richard doesn't just sit there. His first move is to load up on sugar. He knows, with a terrifying insight into child physiology, that sugar doesn't make children lazy. It makes them hyperactive. He wasn't just having a snack. He was poisoning his opponent's chances from the very beginning. He engineered their failure before the lazy off even began. This isn't laziness. This is sabotage. Think about the sheer audacity of that move. He watches them dose themselves with the one substance guaranteed to make them incapable of sitting still, then feigns surprise as they spiral out of control. When they run out of the house in a blur of hyperactivity, he laughs. But it's not the laugh of a simple-minded buffoon. It's the laugh of a general watching his enemy walk directly into a perfectly laid trap. He didn't win by being lazier. He won by being smarter. He used their own biology against them, a move so diabolical it's almost elegant in its cruelty. And when that same episode sees him manipulate his own wife, Nicole, that's the endgame. His final prediction, that Nicole would see him hard at work while the boys relaxed and forced them to do the chores, wasn't a plan. It was a prophecy born of years of studying his target. He has cultivated an ecosystem within his own home where his perceived incompetence is the central pillar holding everything up. He has conditioned his family to expect failure from him, and he weaponizes that expectation to ensure he never has to lift a finger. It is a masterclass in long-term psychological conditioning, all for the sake of avoiding taking out the trash. Now let's move deeper. Let's talk about the job. The plot summary tells us that Richard gets a job as a pizza delivery guy, and his employment literally breaks the universe. The laws of physics warp. The fabric of reality is torn asunder. The show presents this as a cosmic joke. Richard working is so fundamentally wrong that reality itself cannot handle it. But that's the surface-level interpretation. The truth is far more unsettling. This isn't the universe reacting to Richard. This is Richard reacting on the universe. His mind, so vast and powerful, is tethered to a state of absolute inaction. When that state is disrupted, the energy required to redirect his cosmic intellect into a menial task like delivering pizza is so immense that it destabilizes reality itself. He's not a pizza guy. He's a living, breathing reality anchor. The episode shows him leaving a trail of distorted reality. Time loops, gravity fails, the sky snows. You're meant to laugh. But let that sink in. A single being, through the simple act of taking on a minimum wage job, can rewrite the fundamental laws of existence. This isn't incompetence, this is power. A terrifying, godlike power that Richard keeps dormant through a strict regimen of sleeping and eating. His laziness isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's a planetary defense system. He is willingly suppressing his own omnipotence to prevent the universe from unravelling, and the only payment he asks for is a lifetime supply of snacks and daytime television. Consider the founder. You're told Richard accidentally becomes the founder of Chanax Inc. by simply acting like he owns the place. This is a gross oversimplification of what's really happening. Richard doesn't just stumble into power, he performs a stunning act of social engineering, exploiting the fragile egos and sycophantic nature of corporate culture. When a shoulder devil advises him to act confident, Richard doesn't just put on a brave face. He taps into a deep primal understanding of power dynamics. He knows that in a system built on perceived authority, the person who acts with the most unwavering, nonsensical confidence becomes the king. The employees don't believe he's the founder because he's smart or capable. They believe him because his absolute, unwavering confidence short-circuits their ability to question him. His very presence creates a new reality where he is the founder. When Hayden doubts him, he's dropped into a pit. Think about that. The corporate system, under Richard's brief influence, immediately develops a method for silencing dissent. He doesn't command it to happen. The system reorients itself around his will. His innovations, like ordering the destruction of the building's structural foundation, are not the actions of an idiot. They are a profound Dadaist critique of capitalism. He is intentionally bringing the entire corporation to ruin as a form of performance art, exposing the absurdity of it all. He's not a boss, he's a revolutionary disguised as a fool. This pattern of subtle, terrifying manipulation is everywhere. Look at the remote. Richard hides the remote to watch his soap opera, a childish act. But then he gives his children a riddle. Why? Why not just say, "I hid it"? Because the riddle is a diversion. It's a mechanism designed to ignite a conflict between his children, to turn them against each other and their mother in a chaotic scramble that ensures no one can effectively challenge him. He sends Gumball and Darwin on a completely pointless quest for a valley shaped like a butt, knowing full well their literal minds will fixate on the absurd, buying him precious time. He plays every member of his family like a fiddle. He knows Gumball and Darwin will eventually suspect Aeneas. He knows Nicole will get fed up and try to solve the problem herself. The entire episode, a citywide chase culminating in property damage and emotional distress, is orchestrated by one man so he can find out what happens in La Casa de las Lagrimas. He doesn't just want to watch TV, he wants to prove he can bend the entire world to his will to do so. And he succeeds. The final reveal that Aeneas was the one pulling the strings is the ultimate misdirection. She was merely a pawn, reacting predictably to the chaos her father had set in motion. Or consider the psychological torture chamber that is the password. He frames Nicole as the bad cop, creating a power vacuum that he can exploit. The password hint, favourite child, is pure, unadulterated Machiavellian genius. It's not a hint, it's a weapon. He launches his children into a desperate, pathetic competition for his affection, forcing them to perform increasingly dangerous and humiliating acts to prove their worth. He makes them give him a bath, where he slips and catches on fire, a scenario so perfectly engineered to induce guilt it's breathtaking. And the climax of this twisted game? He has Gumball and Darwin create an edited video to slander Aeneas. He is teaching his own children the art of disinformation and character assassination. He pushes them to the brink, makes them betray their own sister, and then feigns hurt when he discovers their plot. All of this culminates in them feeling so guilty that he solidifies his position as the parent they must constantly appease. The final twist, that the password was just password, is not a joke. It's a statement. It's Richard telling them, "I put you through all of this emotional turmoil for absolutely no reason, just because I could." It is a chilling display of power for power's sake. Even Richard's physical comedy is a tool of his intellect. In the heist, he doesn't just accidentally rob a bank. He approaches a complex social institution, a bank, and applies the only logic he deems valid, the logic of a fast food transaction. This isn't a sign of a broken mind. It's the sign of a mind so advanced it sees the underlying transactional nature of all human interaction. He sees the teller not as a person, but as a service node. He requests a product, and they provide it. The fact that the product is bags of cash is irrelevant to him. The system responded to his query. When he is caught, his solution is not to panic. It is to bury the money. But think about his flash forward. He shows his family a future where they find the money and become rich, surgically altered socialites. He's not predicting the future. He's planting a suggestion. He's giving them a treasure map in the form of a prophetic vision. He knows they will follow it. His plan wasn't to hide the money forever. It was to redistribute the wealth in the most chaotic, untraceable way possible, by letting his family spend it. He laundered $2 million through his family's vanity, a scheme so brilliant the authorities could never hope to unravel it. This theme of profound, misunderstood wisdom appears in his role as a father. Look at the hero. Richard teaches Gumball the bunny hop, a fighting technique that involves curling into a ball, throwing your money at the bully, and hopping away. Gumball sees this as cowardice, but it's not. It's a transcendent form of de-escalation. Richard has distilled the essence of non-violent resistance into a single, absurd maneuver. You can't fight someone who refuses to engage, who neutralizes the conflict by removing the prize, the money, and presenting themselves as a non-threatening, ridiculous target. It's Gandhi by way of Bugs Bunny. His parenting is a constant stream of these Zen-like lessons disguised as idiocy. In The Deal, his strike isn't about laziness. It's a calculated experiment. He withdraws his influence to demonstrate in the most visceral way possible that his presence provides a necessary balance to the family's chaos. Without him, the kids become feral monsters. He lets the house descend into anarchy just to prove his own value, and when he retakes control, he doesn't use anger or authority. He uses a deep understanding of game theory. He knows that by offering a single prize to 3 competing parties, they will neutralize each other. He diffuses a siege with basic psychological principles, proving to Nicole that his unconventional methods are not just effective but essential. His intelligence even extends to the meta-narrative of the show itself. In The Signal, the world begins to glitch. Gumball's speech is distorted, scenes jump, reality breaks down. Richard's response? He pretends to glitch in order to distract them. This is not a man participating in a joke. This is a man who is aware of the fourth wall, aware of the very medium he exists in, and is actively manipulating it. He sees the glitch, not as a random event, but as a narrative device he can co-opt for his own purposes, in this case to stop his children from fighting. He is, for a moment, the show's editor. This cosmic awareness is hinted at again in The Job. The universe itself cannot sustain the paradox of his employment. Is it because he's lazy, or is it because his true role in the narrative is the unemployed father, and by taking a job he's threatening the structural integrity of their reality? His laziness is a load-bearing wall for their entire existence. He doesn't just sit on the couch, he maintains the stability of the space-time continuum through ritualistic inactivity. Let's examine his relationship with money, a key indicator of his true genius. In The Signature, the family is shocked to find he's been conned by his own father, Frankie, into signing away the house. It seems like the ultimate act of stupidity, but it's not. It's the catalyst. Richard's failure is what forces Aeneas to concoct the plan to have Louis marry Jojo. thereby making Louis the new patriarch and nullifying Frankie's claim. Richard didn't lose the house. He created the very crisis that would allow his family to legally and permanently secure it from his conman father. He sacrificed himself, playing the fool to bait a trap that would save everyone. Think about the check. Louis gives the kids a check for $5,000. It sparks a war within the family, a descent into greed and paranoia. Richard's role? He takes the check to teach them a valuable life lesson. The show frames it as a clumsy attempt to confiscate it, but that's the cover story. He is intentionally escalating the conflict. He knows Nicole will chase him. He knows the kids will join in. He orchestrates an insane, city-wide chase sequence involving an invisible car, all to amplify their greed to a fever pitch. Why? So that the eventual reveal that the check is only for $50 is all the more impactful. He manufactured a mountain of conflict out of a molehill of cash to vaccinate his family against greed. He performs these elaborate social experiments constantly. In the diet, he doesn't just fail at dieting. He fakes a spiral into food addiction, then into grotesque hypermasculinity, all as an elaborate performance piece. He pushes his body to absurd limits, becoming first a bloated mess and then a monstrously buff caricature, to demonstrate the dangers of obsession and vanity to his children. He sacrifices his own physical and mental well-being to serve as a living cautionary tale. The fight with Mr. Robinson, the chaos at the mall, it was all street theatre, orchestrated by a master of performance art, and his supposed ignorance of the world, a lie. In the points, Gumball and Darwin get scammed by Tobias into doing chores for good points. Richard, upon hearing this, would be expected to fall for it himself, but he doesn't. His intelligence is selective. He maintains his facade of stupidity only when it benefits him. When his children are being exploited, the mask slips just enough for him to see the truth. His apathy is a tool, not a constant state. In the sale, he wears a werewolf mask and pounds on the shed door, believing Aeneas is trapped. This is presented as him being easily fooled. But consider the context. Gumball and Darwin are trying to sabotage the sale of Mr. Robinson's house. Richard's stupid action is the final chaotic nail in the coffin of that sale. Was he really fooled? Or was he contributing to the campaign of psychological terror against the Bensons, providing the perfect surreal and threatening climax to scare them away for good? He provided the perfect cover of plausible deniability. I wasn't trying to help my kids sabotage your sale. I was just being an idiot. It's flawless. Even his most destructive acts serve a higher purpose. In The Responsible, a fire starts in the house due to Gumball and Darwin's negligence. Richard's supposed lack of a proper babysitter is blamed. The house floods. The family is in chaos. But at the end, when blame is being assigned, who takes the fall? The internet. Richard guides the family to a conclusion so absurd, so nonsensical, that it diffuses all internal conflict. He unites them against a vague external concept, a scapegoat that allows the family unit to repair itself, without any one person having to take full responsibility. It's not just avoiding blame. It's a form of family therapy through absurdity. This is the true Richard Watterson. Not an idiot, but a hidden king. A philosopher king who rules from a throne made of couch cushions. His gluttony isn't a weakness. It's the fuel for a mind that operates on a different plane of existence. His laziness isn't a flaw. It's a state of profound meditation, a conscious withdrawal from a world that is too simple, too slow for him. He has achieved a state of enlightenment so complete that he no longer needs to participate in the charade of responsibility that traps lesser beings. Look at The Authority. Granny Jojo's overbearing safety lessons turn the entire family into fat, clueless, Richard-like beings. The episode posits that Richard is the way he is because of his upbringing. This is the misdirection. The truth is that Richard allowed himself to be this way because he understood even as a child, that it was the path of least resistance. The family turning into him isn't a warning, it's a demonstration of his perfected life philosophy. They achieve his state of being, a state free from worry and strife, and Nicole is horrified by it. She can't accept this safe world because she's still trapped in the matrix of ambition and responsibility. Richard is the one who has broken free. His supposed lack of common sense is the highest form of sense. In the heist, when Nicole is trapped in a reverse heist plan, she tries to follow a complex Hollywood-style strategy. Richard's plan: bury the money, get arrested, tunnel out with a plastic fork. It's insane, it's stupid, and it's brilliant. It's a plan so outside the bounds of conventional logic that no one could ever predict it. It embraces failure as a core component. He knows he'll serve his full sentence. He knows the forks won't work. The ultimate outcome is that 20 years pass, the statute of limitations expires, and the crime is forgotten. It's a long con so masterful that even he pretends not to understand it. Think of his interaction with the universe itself. In the routine, his simple quest to get Mayo is retold by his car tax as an epic fantasy journey. He battles trolls, toll booth operators, consults an oracle, Mrs. Jotunheim, and slays a beast, Mr. Rex. The show presents this as the car's imagination. Here's the alternative. Richard's perception of reality is so powerful that he imposes his heroic narrative onto the inanimate objects around him. He isn't just a man going to the store, he's a hero on a quest, and the world reshapes itself to fit that narrative. Cartax isn't imagining things. It is simply reporting the reality that Richard has created. His creative genius is also terrifyingly potent. In The Recipe, the plot summary doesn't even mention him, but he's there, lurking. The whole episode is about Gumball and Darwin creating clones of Anton. But where did they learn this mastery of kitchen-based bioengineering? From their father. The man who invented the sausage pen, a marvel of food-based innovation. The man who, in The Pizza, conceives of pizza from first principles, describing it as a circular half sandwich with stuff on it, not because he's dumb, but because his mind deconstructs concepts to their absolute core. He's not rediscovering pizza, he's proving its logical necessity. He is the ultimate puppet master. In The Blame, he feigns horror at Felicity's campaign to ban video games. But his final suggestion is not to argue, but for parents to become more sensible and take better care of their children. Felicity rejects this. What happens? A mass book burning. Richard didn't try to win the argument. He presented the only logical solution, knowing it would be rejected, thus exposing the irrationality of the opposition and pushing them to their most extreme, self-defeating conclusion. He didn't say video games. He revealed the fascistic underpinnings of his opponent's ideology by letting her destroy herself. His apparent physical weakness is another layer of deception. In The Mustache, he struggles to open a cereal box. It's pathetic. But later, under the influence of Male Power 2000, he doesn't just get strong. He, Gumball, and Darwin achieve monstrous, superhuman physiques. But Richard has been taking these supplements for a while. The implication is terrifying. His natural state could very well be that of a muscle-bound demigod, and the flabby pink rabbit persona is a form he chooses to adopt. He contains a terrifying physical power, just as he contains his cosmic intelligence, under layers of carefully applied mediocrity. And in The Father, we see the source of his trauma, the abandonment by his own dad, Frankie. His depression isn't just sadness, it's the destabilization of his carefully constructed world. Frankie's return threatens the core premise of his existence. But how does he handle it? Not with anger, but with a series of manipulative bonding activities. He goes along with Frankie's criminal habits, not because he's a fool, but because he's gathering evidence. He's allowing Frankie to expose his own irredeemable nature, forcing him into a position where he has to confront his own failures as a father. Richard doesn't just want a dad. He wants a dad who deserves to be one. It's an emotional sting operation. Richard Watterson exists in a state of quantum stupidity. He's both the dumbest man alive and a transcendent genius, and he collapses into whichever state is most beneficial to him at any given moment. He has hacked reality, hacked his family, and hacked the very concept of responsibility. Every snore, every dropped crumb, every nonsensical utterance is a move in a game that he, and he alone, is winning. He's not living in the Watterson house. The Watterson house, Elmore, and perhaps the entire universe are living in his. And the greatest trick he ever pulled was convincing the world and you that he didn't exist. Let us dissect the roots. On the surface, the family misinterprets Darwin's sadness at a pet store as a deep, existential yearning to return to his natural habitat. This leads to them comically trying to turn their home into an aquatic environment and eventually releasing him into a pond. Richard's role seems minimal, just another bumbling participant. But analyse his actions through the lens of a master manipulator. He is the one who fully commits to the absurdity, wearing ocean-themed outfits and eating worms. He is not being stupid, he is accelerating the crisis. He understands that the family's misguided empathy will only be corrected by pushing it to its most illogical extreme. By fully endorsing the return Darwin to the wild plan, Richard ensures it happens quickly and dramatically. He's not just going along with a bad idea, he is stress-testing his family's emotional logic. He knows Darwin will not actually leave them. He knows Darwin will come back. The entire ordeal is a lesson orchestrated by him to teach his family not to jump to dramatic emotional conclusions. He traumatizes everyone involved, including Darwin, to impart a single valuable lesson about communication. The fact that the lesson was based on a misunderstanding about a fish tank is the punchline to his own cosmic joke. Now, consider the episode The Pest. Richard is not present for this narrative. And what happens? Gumball and Darwin fail spectacularly at solving Aeneas's problem with Billy. Their attempts at peaceful resolution are useless, and Gumball's eventual challenge to a duel is a disaster. The situation is only resolved when Aeneas, empowered by her own frustration, takes matters into her own hands with a single decisive kick. Richard's absence is the key here. Without his subtle, chaotic guidance, his children are left to navigate a social conflict with only their own flawed logic. The outcome is messy and unsatisfying. This proves that Richard's presence, however passive it may seem, is a crucial element that guides the family's misadventures towards a, usually, stable resolution. He is the invisible hand of the Watterson family. In The Slap, we see another instance of Richard's philosophical depth. The episode revolves around Gumball's obsession with a social ritual, Tobias's butt slap greeting. Richard is barely in it. He is not needed. The conflict is entirely driven by Gumball's ego and insecurity. But his teachings linger. Richard's entire life is a rejection of social norms and the anxieties they produce. He does not care about greetings, promotions, or what others think of him. Gumball's painful journey in this episode, culminating in the realization that forcing the friendship was meaningless, is a lesson Richard learned and perfected decades ago. Gumball has to go through psychological torment to learn what Richard embodies effortlessly. The only validation that matters is your own. Let's turn to the compilation. This episode is a series of short, disconnected clips. Richard's segment is a review of a calculator app which he believes to be a game. He's shown mashing buttons and being confused by the results. The surface reading is simple. Richard is too dumb to understand a calculator. But the deconstruction reveals a profound philosophical statement. Richard is rejecting the premise of the calculator. He is refusing to accept that this device should be used for mundane logical tasks like mathematics. He's trying to find the fun, to impose a narrative of play onto a system of pure utility. He is a warrior against the tyranny of pragmatism. His failure to play the game is not a failure of intelligence, but a successful protest against a world that prioritizes calculation over joy. This rebellious spirit is also the key to understanding his actions in The Parking. The family is trapped in a seemingly endless quest for a parking spot. Every other member of the family is consumed by rage and frustration. Richard, however, remains a source of chaotic inspiration. It is his idea to create a new parking space with a spray can. This is not the act of a frustrated driver. This is the act of a revolutionary. He sees an unjust system, a full parking lot, and his solution is not to work within it, but to break it. He is literally creating new territory, challenging the very map of the mall's authority. The resulting pile-up of cars is not an accident. It is a beautiful, chaotic monument to his defiance. His apparent gluttony is often the engine of his genius. In The Menu, his obsession with a secret burger from Joyful Burger launches a massive undertaking. He convinces his sons to infiltrate the company. The narrative treats this as a simple quest for food. But look at the outcome. Gumball and Darwin don't just find the secret. They climb the corporate ladder, dominate the franchise, and become billionaires. Richard didn't just inspire a snack run, he inspired a corporate takeover. He unwittingly taught his sons a masterclass in business and ambition, all because he wanted a hamburger. He is a walking, eating catalyst for greatness. Then there's the heartbreaking The Uncle. Gumball, in a desperate bid to befriend Ocho, believes his uncle is the famous video game character Mario. Richard is not in this episode. Think about why. The entire plot is about the dangers of seeking validation from external famous sources. It's about the emptiness of chasing clout. This is a lesson Richard, in his couch-bound enlightenment, has no need to learn. His self-worth is absolute and internally generated. The narrative removes him because his serene, self-possessed wisdom would have resolved the conflict in seconds. He would have simply told Gumball, "Who needs Mario when you have a perfectly good couch?" And the entire adventure would have been rendered moot. Let's delve into the weirdo. Susie, a character defined by her bizarre and unconventional behaviour, is being bullied. Gumball and Darwin's solution is to fix her, to make her normal so she can fit in. This is the logic of a broken system. Richard again is not a major player here. His philosophy, however, permeates the episode's conclusion. Susie ultimately teaches the boys that her way of seeing the world, a world of joy free from judgment, is superior. This is Richard's entire life philosophy. Susie is, in many ways, a disciple of the Richard Watterson school of thought, whether she knows it or not. Richard's genius is so profound that it manifests in other characters, proving its universal truth. And now, for one of the most damning pieces of evidence of his manipulative prowess, the console. Richard gives Gumball a knockoff game console, the Game Child. This single act plunges the entire town of Elmore into a JRPG-style reality. Think about the implications. Richard didn't just buy a cheap toy. He acquired an artifact of immense reality-warping power from the mysterious Awesome Store, and gifted it to his son, knowing full well what it would do. Why? It's another one of his grand lessons. He trapped his family in a world governed by arbitrary rules, tedious side quests and grinding, all to teach them a lesson about the futility and absurdity of chasing arbitrary goals. He wasn't giving a gift. He was administering a psychological stress test on a citywide scale. In this JRPG world, Gumball is forced to learn about responsibility, Anais about teamwork, and Darwin about the consequences of blind loyalty. Richard himself appears in the game's finale as a summonable ally. This is the ultimate tell. He wrote himself into the very fabric of the game as a key to their salvation. He was the problem, the guide, and the solution all at once. The entire episode is a simulation of his own design, a controlled environment to foster his children's growth. It's parenting on a level we can barely comprehend. We must also consider his influence on others, even when he's not the focus. In The Ollie, Richard's brief appearance at the start misusing a skateboard is the catalyst for the entire plot. His claim of being a land surfer is what prompts Gumball's lie about being a professional skater. Richard's nonsensical statement is a seed of chaos that he plants in Gumball's mind, which then blossoms into a full-blown crisis of identity and a dangerous high-speed chase. He doesn't need to be present to pull the strings. His influence is a lingering psychic echo. Let's re-examine the choices. This episode is a deep dive into Nicole's past, showing the single moment, meeting Richard, that defined her life. The narrative frames it as a choice between a life of high-achieving, soulless success and a life of chaotic, impoverished happiness with Richard. But the episode reveals something deeper. All the other paths for Nicole lead to disaster, a dystopian future, insanity, arrest, or death. The only path that leads to genuine, albeit messy happiness is the one with Richard. This isn't a coincidence. Richard is not just a choice. He's a destined intervention. He's a cosmic force of chaos that saves Nicole from her own self-destructive ambition. His appearance, stuck in a log, is not an accident. It is an appointment. He is there to divert her from a path of misery, a guardian angel disguised as a doofus. His intelligence is so advanced, it even transcends the need for language. In the code, the family loses internet access. Richard is shown to be completely incapable of functioning, regressing to a near-primitive state. But this is another act. His reliance on the internet for parenting tips is a red herring. He is demonstrating to his children the danger of over-reliance on technology. When Gumball and Darwin are forced to recreate the internet through analogue means, they are learning a lesson about creativity and resourcefulness. Richard's feigned helplessness is the Socratic method in its purest form. He doesn't give them the answer. He forces them to discover it for themselves through struggle. His physical form itself is a tool for his intellectual projects. In The Test, the episode focuses on Gumball's character archetype being a loser. Richard is not in this episode. Why? Because the presence of the ultimate loser would complicate the experiment. Gumball's journey is about coming to terms with his role in the social ecosystem. If Richard were present, his gravitational pull of loserdom would be so immense it would eclipse Gumball's struggle, making it meaningless. Richard's absence is a deliberate, calculated move to allow his son to have his own character arc without interference. He's a master storyteller who knows when a character needs to be off-screen. In The Traitor, Gumball declares Alan a traitor for missing a dinner party. The entire episode is a spiral of Gumball's paranoia and misplaced rage. Richard's role is again indirect but crucial. Where did Gumball learn this level of dramatic, over-the-top reaction to a minor social slight? From his father. Richard's entire existence is a performance of heightened emotion. Gumball is simply mimicking the master. Richard has taught his son to see the world not as it is, but as a grand, dramatic opera of betrayal and reconciliation. He has raised not a son, but a fellow artist. Consider The Origins, Parts 1 and 2. This is the story of how Darwin joined the family. Richard is portrayed as a bumbling fool who accidentally kills a succession of fish before buying a magical one from a mysterious van. But this is the story told to a child. The truth is far more calculated. Richard didn't accidentally kill those fish. He was searching. He was testing fish after fish, looking for one with the specific spark of sentience he knew Gumball needed. He wasn't just buying pets, he was conducting interviews for the role of brother. The purchase from the van wasn't an act of desperation. It was the successful conclusion of a long and deliberate search for a soulmate for his son. And when Darwin is flushed down the toilet, Richard's grief is real, but his inaction is strategic. He knows that this journey is something Darwin must undertake alone to evolve, to grow lungs and legs, to become the person he is destined to be. He allows this traumatic, perilous journey to happen because he has faith in the magical bond he himself helped to create. It is the ultimate act of parental trust, letting your child go through hell so they can find their own heaven. Then we have The Girlfriend, where Jamie forces Darwin into a relationship. Richard's involvement is brief but telling. He attempts to introduce himself to Jamie and she assaults him with gym equipment. He returns to his car with a deformed head. This is not just a joke about his weakness. This is Richard gathering data. He subjected himself to physical harm to confirm one thing, that Jamie was a danger to his son. It was a reconnaissance mission disguised as a social faux pas. His subsequent withdrawal from the conflict wasn't cowardice. It was him signalling to his sons that this was a problem they had to solve themselves, having provided them with the necessary intelligence. Jamie is dangerously unstable. In The Advice, Mr. Small gives the boys terrible advice that they take literally, causing citywide destruction. Richard is not in this episode. His absence is deafening. Had he been there, his own brand of nonsensical advice would have served as a counterbalance, a kind of anti-venom to Mr. Small's toxic positivity. Richard's unique form of wisdom, which is to do nothing and expect the worst, would have saved the entire town. The episode is a thought experiment about a world without Richard's stabilising influence, and the result is chaos and fire. And what about the signal, where reality itself glitches and the fourth wall crumbles? Richard is the first one to truly embrace it. He doesn't just pretend to glitch. He uses the breakdown of their universe as a teachable moment. He is demonstrating to his sons that reality is fluid, and that its rules are suggestions, not laws. He is a quantum physicist teaching a practical lesson through the medium of a glitching station wagon. He is more than a character in a show. He is a character who knows he is a character in a show and has simply decided to have fun with it. Let's not forget the parasite, where Aeneas becomes a literal parasite fusing with Jodie. Richard's major contribution is preparing a poisoned lunch. This is played for laughs when he ends up eating it himself. But what if that was the plan all along? What if he knew the bag shuffle would result in him getting the sandwich? He poisoned himself to demonstrate the danger Jodie, or so he thought, posed. A visceral, self-sacrificial act of protest. Even better, what if he knew Aeneas was the true parasite? He poisoned himself to create a chaotic diversion, giving Aeneas's parasitic tendencies time to fully manifest and expose themselves, thus solving the problem. Either way, his mistake is actually a multi-layered strategic triumph. In The Love, the episode is a musical exploration of what love is. Richard's segment involves him and Nicole being interviewed. Nicole tries to explain their love logically, but fails. Richard's contribution? To simply hug her. He doesn't need to articulate it. He understands love not as a concept to be analysed, but as an action to be performed. In a montage of complex and confusing relationships, his is the simplest and purest. His genius is in his emotional clarity. While others are lost in the theory, he is the master of the practice. And the haunting narrative of the nest, the family's evil turtle returns, pregnant and aggressive. The episode becomes a monster movie. Richard's role? He is the one whose fear is most pronounced. He is the comic relief. But his fear serves a purpose. It heightens the tension for everyone else. More importantly, when the family realises the turtle is just a mother protecting her young, Richard's previous terror is recontextualised. He wasn't just afraid of a monster. His paternal instincts were clashing with the turtle's maternal ones. It was a primal conflict between two parents, and his cowardice was simply his non-confrontational nature, recognising a battle he couldn't win. Now, we must analyse one of his most subtle and brilliant manipulations in The Detective. The episode is a noir parody where Aeneas investigates the murder of her doll Daisy. Richard's only role is to provide a single clue. He heard a strange noise from the bathroom, that's it. But that one clue sends Aeneas on a wild goose chase that ultimately reveals the truth. Gumball and Darwin broke the doll during a sugar rush. Richard didn't just hear a noise, he observed the entire crime, understood the complex emotional fallout that would occur, and provided the exact piece of information that would lead his genius daughter to the correct conclusion without directly implicating her brothers and causing a bigger fight. He didn't solve the crime, he curated the investigation. Let's turn to the Fury. The entire plot is driven by Nicole's past rivalry with Yuki. Richard's function in this story is to be the supportive, slightly clueless husband. He tries to cheer her up, but he seems powerless. But this is his genius at its most passive. He knows Nicole's fury is a force of nature that cannot be contained, only unleashed. His attempts to help are deliberately ineffective because he knows the only thing that will resolve Nicole's inner turmoil is a full-blown anime-style martial arts battle. He doesn't try to stop the fight. He subtly encourages it by providing a stable, loving foundation from which Nicole can safely launch her rage. He is the calm eye of her hurricane. In The Scam, the kids run a Halloween scam pretending to be ghost exterminators. Richard is not in this episode, and that is the point. This is a story about Gumball learning a lesson about lies and consequences without his father's influence. Richard's brand of chaos is organic and, I argue, purposeful. The chaos Gumball creates here is selfish and contrived. The episode demonstrates that Gumball, when left to his own devices, lacks his father's finesse. He gets caught. Richard, the master of living a life free of consequence, is absent because his presence would have made the scam either successful, robbing Gumball of the moral, or so absurdly chaotic it would have ended differently. Richard's absence is a narrative choice to highlight Gumball's immaturity. And then there's the absolute mind-bender, the disaster. The episode where Rob gets a universal remote and rewinds and fast-forwards reality. Richard is a victim here, along with everyone else. He is paused, his parental filter is turned off, and he is made to argue with Nicole. But even as a puppet, his intelligence shines through. When Rob turns off his parental filter, Richard doesn't just become mean. He becomes brutally honest and logical. He agrees with Nicole that she should find a better husband and that he should go get a donut. This isn't just an insult. It's a cold, calculated assessment of the situation from his perspective. Even when stripped of his social inhibitions, his mind defaults to a state of pure, selfish, logical reasoning. Rob didn't reveal an idiot. He revealed a hedonistic logician. Let's look at the rerun, the direct sequel. The timeline is reset. Gumball is the only one who remembers. Richard is back to his normal pre-disaster self, singing in the car. This is crucial. Richard's mind, so powerful and in tune with the cosmos, is seemingly unaffected by the temporal tampering. Or, more likely, he is aware of the previous timeline but understands that the loop is Gumball's battle to fight. He plays his part blissfully ignorant, because it is what the narrative and his son's character development requires. He's like a lucid dreamer who chooses to pretend he's asleep so as not to disrupt the dream for others. Consider the social commentary hidden in the stories. Gumball and Darwin are forced to listen to Molly's incredibly boring life stories. Richard isn't involved. This is a story about social obligation and the torture of feigned interest. Richard has completely transcended this. He has no social obligations. He does not feign interest in anything. If Molly tried to tell him a story, he would simply fall asleep. He has achieved a level of social freedom that other characters can only dream of. His absence in the story is a testament to his success. He has successfully avoided the central conflict of the episode for his entire life. In The Guy, Aeneas befriends Josh, a student Gumball and Darwin suspect of having ulterior motives. Richard is not in this episode. The narrative is a classic, overprotective brother's tale. But Richard's absence speaks volumes. As the patriarch, why isn't he involved in vetting his daughter's new friend? Because he trusts her. Or more cynically, he trusts that any friend of Aeneas will eventually be driven away by the family's inherent chaos, so there's no point in interfering. It's either profound trust or profound strategic patience. Either way, it's a level of thinking far beyond simple-mindedness. Now, the boredom. This episode is a meta-commentary on the nature of the show itself. Gumball and Darwin are bored because nothing is happening, even though the background is filled with insane world-breaking events they fail to notice. Richard is not in this episode. Let that sink in. In an episode entirely about the nature of entertainment and perspective, the show's primary source of passive entertainment, Richard on the couch, is completely absent. He is not there because he is the concept being discussed. He is the living embodiment of being entertained by nothing, of creating a universe of interest out of a blank wall or a piece of lint. He is not in the episode because he is the episode's theme. Then we have the vision. Gumball and Darwin discover Alan's manifesto to take over the world. This is a story about paranoia and misinterpreting intentions. Richard is not here. Why? Because Richard is immune to paranoia. His mind is a fortress of serene apathy. He would not have read the manifesto. If he had, he would not have understood it. If he had understood it, he would not have cared. He is the antithesis of the anxiety that drives this plot. His zen-like state of being simply cannot coexist with a narrative about obsessive suspicion. In The Rival, we get a flashback to Anais' birth and her subsequent Machiavellian attempts to eliminate her brothers. Richard is portrayed as the classic panicking father. He drives the car through the hospital. He's a mess. But this is a flashback. This is Richard before he perfected his craft. In the present, he would never be so flustered. We are seeing the origin story of his genius. He realised in these early days that conventional parenting, panic, stress, active involvement was a fool's game. Aeneas's infant terrorism didn't break him, it trained him. It was the crucible in which his philosophy of strategic incompetence was forged. Let's analyse the lady. Richard cross-dresses as Samantha to make friends with a group of women, leading Gumball and Darwin to believe he's having an affair. This is presented as a sad, lonely man's cry for help. I propose a different reading. This is an intelligence-gathering mission. Richard, a master of social systems, realised he did not understand the female social dynamic, so he went undercover. Samantha was not a persona, it was an intelligence asset. He infiltrated their ranks, learned their customs, their language, their rituals. The reveal that most of the other women were also men in disguise doesn't debunk his genius. It proves it. He was so good at his undercover work that he managed to find the other undercover agents. He is the Jason Bourne of suburban social clubs. And what about the sucker? Darwin is manipulated by Julius and his gang of delinquents. Richard is completely absent from this plot. Why isn't the father figure stepping in to protect his naive son from a life of crime? Two possibilities, both demonstrating his genius. One, he trusts Darwin's inherent goodness will win out, and that this experience is a necessary lesson in understanding the criminal element. It's a hands-off teaching style. Two, and far more likely, he knows about the situation and is allowing it to unfold, confident that Darwin's extreme weaponized naivety will not only protect him, but will actually destroy Julius's entire criminal enterprise from the inside. And what happens? Darwin's help dismantles Julius's crew, ruins his relationship, and gets his family in trouble. Darwin is not a victim. He is the perfect weapon of social sabotage, a weapon his father has been honing for years. In the vegging, Gumball and Darwin vow to do nothing for a whole day. They tune out meteorite impacts, mutant uprisings, and alien invasions. Richard appears only at the end, trapped with Nicole and Aeneas in a car dangling from a bridge. Gumball and Darwin are forced to abandon their vegging to save them. The lesson seems to be that responsibility will always find you. But what if Richard orchestrated the entire crisis? What if he drove the car onto that dangling bridge on purpose? He saw his sons achieving a level of sloth that rivaled his own and felt threatened. So he created an inescapable moral dilemma, a Sophie's choice of laziness, forcing them to choose between their philosophy and their family. He reasserted his dominance as the king of inactivity by proving that they, unlike him, could still be moved. The one is an episode about Gumball's ego and his inability to accept Tobias's friendship. Richard is not in it. This is a deeply personal psychological journey for Gumball. Richard's role as a father in this case is to be absent. He understands that some battles of the self must be fought alone. His non-interference is not negligence. It's a sign of profound respect for his son's emotional autonomy. He is a parent who knows when to step back and let his child navigate their own internal landscape, no matter how treacherous it may be. Let's look at the father. Frankie has returned. The family plays Vermin Man Day, a holiday Jojo invented to demonize him. Richard plays along seemingly clueless, but he's not. He's allowing Jojo to have her cathartic, albeit cruel ritual. Later, when he bonds with Frankie, he willingly participates in a series of crimes. Is he being easily led? No, he's giving his father enough rope to hang himself. He's allowing Frankie to demonstrate his true nature, not just to Richard, but to Frankie himself. The final confrontation, where Richard praises Frankie for being a good parent, is the masterstroke. It's a statement so dripping with ironic truth that it forces Frankie to finally confess his own failures. Richard didn't just reconcile with his father, he psychologically broke him down and rebuilt him into a better person. In The Cringe, the plot revolves around the intense awkwardness between Gumball and Hot Dog Guy. Richard is not a factor, and why would he be? Richard is a being who is physically incapable of feeling awkward. He exists in a state of pure, unashamed idy. Awkwardness is born from a fear of social judgment, a fear that Richard has long since transcended. He cannot be in an episode about awkwardness for the same reason a fish cannot be in an episode about a fear of drowning. He is immune to the central conflict. In The Cage, Mr. Cornell lies about being a cage fighter. Richard is not in this episode. The entire plot is about the foolishness of pretending to be something you're not to gain respect. This is antithetical to the Richard Watterson doctrine. Richard's power comes from pretending to be less than he is. Mr. Cornell's lie is born of insecurity. Richard's is born of absolute confidence. The episode is a cautionary tale that serves to highlight the superiority of Richard's own methods of social navigation. The neighbour sees the family finally learning Gary's name, only to find out he's in witness protection. Richard reveals he has also been avoiding Gary for years, not knowing his name. But this is the cover. Richard, with his uncanny ability to sense disturbances in the fabric of Elmore, likely knew Gary was hiding something. His avoidance wasn't social anxiety, it was operational security. He was respecting Gary's cover. He wasn't avoiding a neighbour, he was avoiding compromising a protected federal witness. In The Anybody, Clayton shapeshifts into various people. Richard isn't present. This is a story about identity and the desire to escape a boring life. Richard has no such desire. He has cultivated the perfect life of boring, blissful inaction. He has nothing to learn from Clayton's journey because he is already at the destination. He is the platonic ideal of a man who is content with who he is, so a story about identity crisis has no room for him. The episode The Faith presents an Elmore that is losing its colour, becoming grey and dull because Alan has lost his faith in the world. Richard is only seen briefly at the start, eating cat litter he mistook for cereal. This is not a mistake. This is the first symptom of the universal decay. Richard's powerful mind, which usually imposes a vibrant, chaotic reality on the world, is being suppressed by Alan's overwhelming pessimism. His eating of cat litter is a sign that his reality-shaping abilities are failing. He is the canary in the coal mine for a spiritual apocalypse. Let's not forget the candidate. The kids are trapped at school during a charity gala. They elect a leader to solve their problems. Richard is with the other parents, presumably passed out. His absence is what creates the power vacuum that leads to Gumball's disastrous reign as leader. Richard is the true, unelected leader of the family. By removing him from the equation, the story shows the inevitable collapse of any social structure that doesn't have him at its centre, even if his leadership is expressed through snoring. In the pact, Gumball and Principal Brown make a pact to tell each other's girlfriends about their flaws. Richard has no part in this. Why? Because the very concept of such a pact is alien to him. He would never agree to point out Nicole's flaws to a third party, not out of fear, but because he doesn't perceive them as flaws. His love is unconditional. Furthermore, he has no flaws to be told of, as his entire existence is a state of perfected being. The plot cannot function with a character who is immune to social blackmail. And in the shippening, Sarah gets a magical notebook that makes her fan fiction pairings come true. Larry is paired with Mr. Small, Mr. Robinson with Banana Barbara. Richard is not paired with anyone. He's immune to the notebook's magic. Why? Because his own reality-shaping abilities are stronger. The notebook can manipulate the destinies of lesser beings, but it cannot override the will of a master like Richard. He is a being of such profound narrative, stability that fan fiction itself breaks against him. Let's examine the brain. Anais suffers brain damage from face-palming at her family's stupidity. The doctor prescribes a week of the family acting intelligently. Richard's response is to order food at a toll booth. This isn't him failing the test. This is him rejecting its premise. He is actively sabotaging the effort to be smart because he knows that their family's strength lies in their chaos, not in forced intelligence. The episode ends with the revelation that it was all a coma dream Anais was having. Richard's stupidity was literally the stuff of nightmares, a force so potent it can shape the subconscious. In The Parents, we meet Nicole's estranged parents. Richard's role is to be the living embodiment of their disapproval. He is lazy, jobless, and foolish. And yet, he is the one who ultimately holds the family together. He doesn't win the argument with her parents. He doesn't need to. His happy, loving, albeit chaotic existence with Nicole is the ultimate refutation of their life philosophy. He doesn't win by being better. He wins by simply being. His existence is a passive-aggressive masterstroke. The Schooling is an episode where Gumball and Darwin learn the horrors of the working world by taking over all of Larry's jobs. Richard is the one who inspires this, by explaining the point of a job is to earn money to buy things to keep others in their jobs. He's not just giving a simplistic explanation. He's giving a perfect, succinct summary of the circular logic of late-stage capitalism. He has boiled down the entire global economic system to a single sentence. He's not too dumb to get a job. He's too smart to fall for the scam. In The Intelligence, the internet becomes sentient and absorbs all of humanity's intelligence, causing society to regress to a medieval state. Richard is shown trying to trim a single strand of hair, oblivious. But this is the key. While the rest of the world is losing its mind, Richard's mind is so vast and self-contained that it is unaffected. The internet can absorb all of Wikipedia, but it can't touch the enlightened consciousness of a being who has transcended the need for external knowledge. Richard's intellect is off the grid. Let's look at the potion. The boys shrink Hector with a magic potion. Richard is not in this episode. The story is a classic, be careful what you wish for fable. Richard has no need for such a lesson. He never wishes for things to be different. He has already curated his perfect existence. Magic potions and desires for change are the tools of the unsatisfied, a category to which Richard Watterson will never belong. The Spin-Offs is an episode where Rob hijacks the show to pitch other show ideas. No Richard spin-off is pitched. Rob and the internet, for all their power, cannot conceive of a show starring Richard. They can imagine a Baby Banana Joe show, a Tina the Dinosaur Kids show, even a sitcom with William. But a show about Richard is impossible. Why? Because his true nature is too complex, too profound, too terrifying to be contained within a simple narrative. His genius is fundamentally unpitchable. Consider the events of the transformation. The Fitzgeralds are arguing about Penny being out of her shell. Gumball is forced to mediate. Richard is not present. This is a family drama about tradition versus self-expression. Richard represents the ultimate form of self-expression. He is 100% authentically himself at all times. His presence would have resolved the conflict instantly. He would have just eaten the bowl of nuts on their table and fallen asleep, demonstrating that the ultimate freedom is to be unburdened by the opinions of your family. Lesson over. In The Understanding, the family can't understand Peter Pepperoni's gibberish. Richard is absent from this plot. The episode is about the struggle to communicate and the importance of empathy. Richard has no need for this. He communicates on a higher plane. His language is not words but actions, specifically inaction. He communicates his desires through sighs, his contentment through snores, his wisdom through the rhythmic chewing of a potato chip. He has transcended the clumsy medium of speech. Let's not forget the ad. The family rents out the house to a pair of elderly goats to make money. Richard is initially against the plan, but is forced to participate in the deception. He is shown eating the inside of the food and showering while the guests are there. This isn't him being a bad host. This is a subtle campaign of psychological warfare. He's creating a series of inexplicable, unsettling events to drive the guests insane and make them leave. He's haunting his own house to reclaim it. It's a strategy so bizarrely brilliant it actually works in a roundabout way. In The Ghouls, a Halloween episode, various ghouls are sad because no one is scared of them anymore. Richard isn't in this episode. Think about it. Can you scare a man whose only fear is the absence of a snack? Can you threaten a man who considers a nightmare to be a dream where he's made of bread dough? He is immune to fear. The ghouls of Elmore pose no threat to a man who lives in a state of perpetual food-driven bliss. He is narratively immune to the horror genre. In The Stink, Mr. Small has an environmental crisis and moves to the woods. Richard doesn't appear. Mr. Small's crisis is born from a hyper-awareness of his impact on the world. Richard has zero impact on the world. He is a perfectly closed system. He consumes and he rests. His carbon footprint is a couch-shaped indentation. He cannot participate in a story about environmental anxiety because he is in his own way the ideal of environmental harmony, a creature that demands nothing from the world but a place to lie down. The Awareness is an episode about Gumball failing to understand Green Week. Richard is absent. The episode mocks performative, environmentalism and social awareness. Richard has no need for Green Week. His entire life is Green Week. He consumes no energy, produces no waste, that isn't part of a natural cycle, and his primary activity is recycling nutrients back into the couch cushions. He doesn't need to be aware, he just is. Let's look at The Slip. Richard wages an epic battle of wills against the mailman, Mr. Gruber, over a missed package. This is not about a puzzle piece. This is about a clash of ideologies. Mr. Gruber represents rules, schedules, and bureaucracy. Richard represents freedom, chaos, and the rejection of arbitrary systems. Richard's increasingly insane and destructive attempts to get his package are not a sign of obsession. They are a righteous crusade against the tyranny of standard procedure. He is fighting for the right of every citizen to not have to go to the depot. He is a folk hero. In the drama, Darwin and Carrie's relationship is the focus. Richard's only role is to be a source of noise that interrupts Gumball's spying. He is not a character in the story. He's a force of nature, an environmental hazard to his son's voyeuristic scheming. This is another example of his passive genius. Without even trying, his simple act of being loud foils Gumball's plan and protects Darwin's privacy. He is an accidental guardian of his children's hearts, and in The Buddy, Anais and Jamie are forced to become friends. Richard is not in this story about an unlikely friendship. Why? Because Richard is friends with everyone and no one. He has no buddies. He exists in a state of universal passive friendliness. The concept of forming a specific friendship is as alien to him as the concept of a job. He doesn't need friends. He is his own best company. In The Possession, the family's old refrigerator is revealed to be a dimensional storage unit for emotions, and it swallows Richard, trapping him in his happy memories. This isn't a magical appliance attacking him. This is Richard's own powerful psyche externalizing itself. His nostalgia and longing for the past are so potent that they manifested a pocket dimension. He didn't get trapped by a fridge. He willingly entered a paradise of his own creation. Nicole and Jojo have to rescue him, but what they are really doing is pulling him out of a state of blissful nirvana that he himself generated. Let's turn to the episode The Master. The family is forced to play a live-action role-playing game to resolve their tension. Richard is the game master. This is not a coincidence. He is the only one who could be. As the secret architect of the family's dynamics, he is the natural choice to guide them through a narrative designed to heal their fractured relationships. He creates a world, sets the rules, and engineers a final confrontation that forces them to work together. He isn't just playing a game. He's conducting a group therapy session through the medium of fantasy. The treasure at the end, the greatest treasure on earth is the time you spend together, isn't a cheesy cliché. It's the central thesis of his entire existence, the lesson he has been trying to teach them all along. The silence shows Gumball and Darwin running out of things to talk about. Richard's contribution is to demonstrate a conversation with Nicole about his sitting position. This small act is a profound lesson. He shows them that communication isn't always about new and exciting topics. It's about the simple, mundane, everyday interactions. He's teaching them that a relationship is sustained not by constant novelty, but by comfortable, shared silence, and the occasional argument about couch posture. In the future, Rob kidnaps Banana Barbara to force her to paint the future. Richard isn't involved in this timeline-altering adventure, because Richard does not care about the future. He is a being of the eternal present. The past is for memories, stored in a psychic fridge, and the future is a vague concept that may or may not involve a nap. He cannot be part of a plot to control the future, because he has already achieved a state of being where the future is irrelevant. In The Wish, Gumball and Darwin accidentally wish Miss Simeon into a neck pillow. Richard is not in this episode. This is a story about the consequences of careless words and actions. Richard is the master of careless actions that have positive consequences. His reality-shaping power bends the universe towards a favourable outcome for himself. If he had made the wish, Miss Simeon wouldn't have turned into a neck pillow. The universe would have conspired to make Miss Simeon want to be a neck pillow, and she would have been the happiest neck pillow in the world. Let's look at The Factory. Nicole takes the kids to her workplace on Bring Your Child to Work Day. Richard stays home, on the couch. This is the ultimate expression of his philosophy. The Rainbow Factory is a symbol of the soul-crushing drudgery of the working world. Richard's refusal to even participate in the narrative is a silent protest. He is so committed to his anti-work ideology that he literally sits the entire episode out. His absence is a powerful political statement. In The Agent, Gumball and Darwin become secret agents to find a toilet paper thief. Richard is absent. The spy genre is all about intrigue, secrets, and complex plots. Richard has no secrets. His life is an open book, albeit a book with a lot of food stains. He cannot participate in a spy narrative because he is incapable of the subterfuge it requires. His genius is in overt, not covert manipulation, and the web. Nicole is shown to be completely inept with technology. Gumball and Darwin try to teach her. Richard isn't there to be taught, because he doesn't need to be. He has his children, the digital natives, to navigate the online world for him. This isn't ignorance, it's delegation. He has outsourced his technological needs to a younger, more capable generation, freeing up his own massive intellect for more important tasks like calculating the optimal nap trajectory. Let's examine the mess. Gumball and Darwin babysit Polly and, due to sleep deprivation, experience a chaotic, fragmented day they can't remember. Richard is not involved. The episode is a commentary on responsibility and the consequences of neglecting it. Richard has built his entire life around a successful, decades-long campaign of avoiding responsibility. A story about the dangers of a single night of irresponsibility is beneath his notice. He is a grandmaster of a game where the characters in this episode are mere amateurs. In the heart, the family learns that Mr. Robinson's heart is a separate sentient being protecting him from emotions. Richard is not in this episode. Richard's heart is not a separate entity. It is perfectly integrated with his being. His emotions, hunger, joy, sleepiness, are pure and unfiltered. He has no need for an internal bodyguard because he has no emotional conflicts. He is a perfectly unified being, a model of psychological health that Mr. Robinson can only dream of. Let's consider the revolt. The objects of Elmore rise up against their human oppressors. Richard isn't a major player in the revolt. Why? Because he doesn't oppress objects. He coexists with them. The couch is not his furniture, it is his symbiotic partner. The remote is not a tool, it is an extension of his will. The objects have no reason to revolt against him because he's already one of them. He is more couch than rabbit, more remote than man. He is post-object. In the decisions, Darwin struggles to make choices and seeks a mentor. He chooses Alan. Richard is only seen at the beginning. He does not offer to be Darwin's mentor, because he knows he cannot teach his philosophy. It can only be learned. His wisdom is not a set of rules, but a state of being. To mentor Darwin would be to cheapen the long, arduous journey to enlightenment. He is a silent guru, pointing the way not with words, but with the profound eloquence of his afternoon nap and the BFFs. Gumball's old best friend Fuzzy returns and is revealed to be a psychotic kidnapper. Richard is not in this episode about toxic friendships. Richard has no toxic friendships. He has no friendships at all in the conventional sense. He has his family and he has the TV. He is a fortress of emotional self-sufficiency. A story about a possessive, dangerous friend has no narrative purchase on a man who needs no one. Let's not forget the Inquisition, the finale of the series. The school is being taken over by a superintendent who wants to turn everyone into realistic humans to save them from an impending doom. Richard is not part of the resistance at the school. He is at home because he is already saved. His lazy, cartoonish, illogical existence is the ultimate rejection of the real world that the superintendent is trying to impose. He has already achieved the state of being that everyone else needs to fight to protect. He isn't fighting the battle because he has already won the war. In The Rival, there's a flashback to Aenea's birth, showing Richard driving frantically. This appears to be a rare moment of genuine panic and incompetence. However, look at the result. Aeneas is born safely, and the car journey becomes a legendary family story. His panic was the necessary ingredient to create a memorable bonding experience. A calm, sensible drive to the hospital is forgotten. A chaotic drive through. The hospital is eternal. He wasn't panicking, he was creating a core memory for his family. It's emotional event planning. Let's revisit The Lady. Richard's undercover operation as Samantha is a masterpiece. When he finally reveals the truth to his new friends, he confesses that he felt inadequate as a man and envied their carefree friendship. This is the most brilliant move of all. He's not just confessing, he's presenting a carefully crafted, sympathetic narrative that makes his bizarre behaviour seem tragic rather than creepy. He manipulates their empathy. The final reveal that they are also men in disguise is something he likely deduced on day one. His confession was designed to smoke them out, to force them to reveal their own secrets. He didn't just join their club, he took control of it. Consider the sucker from Richard's perspective. His son Darwin is falling in with a gang of delinquents. Does Richard intervene? No. He trusts in the system he has created. He has raised a son, Darwin, whose goodness is so potent, so weaponized, that it functions as a social decontaminant. He knows that sending Darwin into a criminal element will not corrupt Darwin. It will obliterate the criminal element. Darwin's naivety is the perfect tool to dismantle their entire operation through sheer, unrelenting kindness and misunderstanding. Richard didn't need to save Darwin, he just needed to unleash him. In The Vegging, Richard is in peril, dangling from a bridge in the family car. This is the event that forces Gumball and Darwin to abandon their perfect day of sloth. Again, this is not an accident. This is Richard re-establishing the hierarchy. His sons were approaching his level of zen-like inactivity, a threat to his status as the household's guru of leisure. So he engineered a crisis, a moral test they were guaranteed to fail, proving that they were still slaves to concepts like family and saving lives, while he remains the true master, unburdened by such attachments, even when dangling over a freeway. The father gives us the deepest look into his psyche. His reaction to Frankie's return is profound. He regresses to a child, not because he's immature, but because he's trying to reclaim the childhood Frankie stole from him. The bonding activities, the crime spree, are a form of therapy. He is forcing his father to finally be a father, even if it's a terrible one. The climax, where he tricks Frankie into signing adoption papers, is a legal and emotional checkmate. He legally becomes his own father's father, a move so psychologically complex it's staggering. He didn't just get a dad, he usurped the entire concept of paternity. Look at his brief, brilliant role in The Slip. He wages a war against the postal service. This is a microcosm of his entire life philosophy. He is a man against the system. The package is irrelevant. The principle is everything. His house arrest isn't a prison. It's a tactical disadvantage that he overcomes with cunning and deception. He uses disguises, psychological manipulation, tricking the mailman with a fake ice cream truck, and sheer, unrelenting stubbornness. He is a suburban freedom fighter, and his battle against Mr. Gruber is his masterpiece. In The Possession, the fridge eats him. Or does it? The fridge traps him in his happiest memories. This is not a prison. This is a feature. Richard's mind is so powerful, his connection to his past so strong, that he can manifest a physical space to relive his greatest moments. He wasn't trapped. He was on vacation in his own soul. The rescue was an unwanted interruption of his spiritual retreat. And let's not forget the master, where he literally directs his family's destiny as the game master. He forces them into roles, manufactures conflicts, and guides them toward a resolution of his own design. The entire episode is Richard breaking the fourth wall and admitting his true role in the series. He is not a character. He is the writer, director, and god of their universe, and for one night only, he let them see the dice. His brief appearance in The Stars is also key. He gets a single hair trimmed by Larry and takes it as a grave insult. This isn't vanity. This is him creating the inciting incident. His offence is what prompts Gumball and Darwin to start writing negative reviews, which in turn leads to the collapse of Elmore's social credit system. Richard didn't just get a bad haircut. He fired the first shot in a war against the tyranny of online reviews. A single, perfectly trimmed hair was all it took to bring a city to its knees, and we cannot ignore the grades. Gumball is sent back to kindergarten. Richard is not in this episode, because Richard has no grades. He has transcended the very concept of academic evaluation. He cannot be judged, graded, or failed. A story about the absurdity of the education system has no place for a man who graduated from life on his first day. In The Diet, his body becomes a canvas for his philosophical explorations. He doesn't just get fat, then buff, then fat again. He is demonstrating the cyclical, destructive nature of pursuing physical perfection. He becomes a living sculpture, a monument to the folly of vanity. He pushes his physical form to its absolute limits as a warning to his children, and indeed to the world. It's not a diet. It's a piece of deeply personal and transformative performance art. Let's look at the X. Gumball is heartbroken when Rob chooses a new nemesis. Richard is absent, because Richard has no nemesis. He has no enemies. To have a nemesis, you must care about the conflict. You must be invested in the game of opposition. Richard is not invested. He is a neutral force. He cannot be opposed because he does not participate. He is a mountain, and the winds of conflict simply blow around him. And the sorcerer. Gumball wants to learn magic. Richard is not there, because Richard is magic. His ability to warp reality, manipulate people, and achieve his goals with zero effort is the purest form of magic there is. He doesn't need to learn spells from Mrs. Jotunheim. He is the source from which such power flows. In The Line, the family waits in line for a movie. Richard claims the movie changed his life because it was his first date with Nicole. He's lying. He later admits he was just trying to motivate the kids, but it's a lie with a purpose. He is teaching them the power of narrative. He creates a mythos around the movie to give their struggle meaning. And his nerd off with a teapot is not about proving he's the bigger fan. It's about demonstrating the absurdity of gatekeeping and fanboy superiority. He wins the nerd off by admitting he has a friend, a move so counterintuitive it short-circuits his opponent's logic. It's a debate tactic of the highest order. Let's look at the list. Gumball and Darwin find Nicole's bucket list and try to complete it for her. Richard isn't involved in the main plot. He is the reason the bucket list exists. Nicole's life of unfulfilled dreams is a direct consequence of choosing a life with him, and yet the episode proves that this life is happier than any she could have had. Richard's greatest act of genius was to become the anchor that, while preventing Nicole from sailing to her planned destinations, kept her from sailing off the edge of the world. He is a beautiful, necessary burden. Finally, the news. Richard reports a robbery at Joyful Burger because ants are carrying away his French fry. This is not him being an idiot. This is a piece of surrealist protest art. He is using the platform of the news, the apparatus of the state, the police, to highlight a deeply personal, microscopic injustice. He's elevating the absurd to the level of a national crisis. It's a profound statement on what society chooses to value as news. He's not just a man who lost a fry. He's an activist performance artist challenging the very nature of media. So you see the evidence is overwhelming. Richard Watterson is not the fool. We are the fools for not seeing it. He is a master strategist, a reality warper, a social engineer, a philosopher, and an artist. He is playing a game on a level so high we can't even see the board. Every moment of perceived stupidity is a carefully calculated move. His life is not a series of accidents. It is a single, continuous, flawlessly executed masterpiece of strategic incompetence. And we, the viewers, are just another part of his grand design. Let's dig even deeper into the abyss. Consider the petals. The episode centres on Leslie's existential crisis as he loses his petals and fears he's becoming ugly. Richard is nowhere to be seen. This is a story about vanity, the fear of aging, and the superficiality of beauty standards. Richard has transcended all of this. His physical form is a matter of complete indifference to him, a mere vessel for his consciousness and his next meal. He is bald, overweight, and has questionable hygiene, yet he possesses an unshakable self-confidence. He cannot participate in a story about the fear of losing one's looks, because he is the living embodiment of being completely at peace with one's own glorious imperfection. Then there is the nuisance. The Wattersons are declared a public nuisance and threatened with exile to Ohio. Richard's contribution to the family's bad reputation is, of course, extensive. But when they are forced to become model citizens, Richard's attempts are the most telling. He tries, he fails. But his failures are what expose the absurdity of the town's expectations. When the family transforms into generic, bland human characters, Richard is the one who looks the most out of place, the most unnatural. This transformation is a visual representation of what the world wants to do to him: sanitize his chaos, neuter his genius. His eventual participation in ruining the town to save it is not him being a nuisance. It's him restoring the natural, chaotic order of things. He is a force for anarchic good. And the worst, an episode dedicated to the family arguing over who has it the hardest. Richard's complaint is that he has to avoid adult responsibilities. This is framed as a joke, but it is the most honest statement in the entire episode. His difficulty is the core of his philosophy. It is a full-time job to maintain a state of perfect irresponsibility. It requires constant vigilance, strategic naps, and the intellectual stamina to feign ignorance in the face of all evidence. When he swaps lives and becomes a kid, he immediately crashes the car. This isn't him failing at being a kid. It's him demonstrating that the carefree life of a child is actually more dangerous and less controlled than his own highly curated existence. Let us not forget the deal. Richard goes on strike from his job as a stay-at-home dad because he feels underappreciated. The house immediately descends into a post-apocalyptic nightmare worthy of Mad Max. The children become feral, the laws of physics optional. Nicole is forced to concede that his role is vital. This is not a simple domestic dispute. This is a labour negotiation on a metaphysical level. Richard proves that his work, the passive, stabilising energy he provides by simply existing on the couch, is the only thing holding their reality together. He doesn't just get his way, he proves his own cosmic necessity. In the awkwardness, Gumball and Hot Dog Guy are trapped in a feedback loop of social discomfort. Richard is not in this episode. As established, Richard is immune to awkwardness. But it's deeper than that. Richard's very presence would have neutralised the conflict. Imagine him on that awkward bus ride. He would have started a conversation so bizarre, so completely unrelated to anything, that the awkwardness between the two boys would have been instantly overshadowed. He would have asked Hot Dog Guy if he was related to a sausage he once ate, or started singing a song about his own socks. He's a social black hole that absorbs all awkwardness into himself. Think about the plot. This episode is not in the provided list, but the theme is one we've touched on. Richard's genius lies in his ability to manipulate narrative itself. In every episode he is in, he's not just a character, he is a co-author. He guides events towards his desired outcome. When he seems to be a victim of the plot, is often because he has willingly stepped into that role to teach a lesson or achieve a hidden goal. His life is not a story that happens to him. It is a story that he allows to happen around him. His relationship with his car tax in the routine is further proof of his reality-shaping power. A car does not just become sentient and narrate your trip to the store as an epic quest. Richard's inner world is so powerful that it bleeds into the objects around him, granting them sentience and a flair for the dramatic. He doesn't own a car. He has a bard, a chronicler for his heroic deeds, even if that deed is just buying mayonnaise. And what about his diet? In The Diet, we see him balloon in weight despite his efforts. This is not a failure of willpower. This is a scientific experiment. He is testing the limits of the physical form. How much food can one being consume? How does the body react to a diet of pure, unadulterated joy? He becomes grotesquely buff, not out of vanity, but to explore the other end of the spectrum. He's a biologist, and his own body is the laboratory. His final conclusion, that a life of moderation is no life at all, is a research finding he graciously shares with his sons. The episode The Points is a crucial text. While Gumball and Darwin are being conned by Tobias, Richard is absent. He is not part of their descent into the gig economy of good points, because he would have never fallen for it. His economic genius, as seen in The Job and The Heist, is based on rejecting conventional systems of value. The idea of earning invisible good points is something his mind would immediately identify as a scam. He has his own currency, snacks and naps. He is immune to the gamification of life because he is already playing a much bigger, more important game. Let's go back to the upgrade. Boba gets a faulty OS upgrade. Richard is not in this tale of technological woe. Richard uses no technology more advanced than a television remote from 1988. He is the ultimate Luddite. He has no need for upgrades, for new operating systems. His own mind is the only software he needs, an infinitely complex system that's already running at peak performance. The episode is a critique of planned obsolescence and the relentless push for newness, a critique Richard embodies every single day, and the comic. Sarah draws Gumball as a superhero, Laserheart. Gumball gets a big head and tries to be a real hero. Richard does not appear. Why? Because Richard is already a hero. As established in The Hero and The Routine, he is a quiet, unsung saviour. Gumball's clumsy attempts at heroism are a child's imitation of the real thing. Richard doesn't need a comic book to tell him he's a hero, he just is. He is the silent guardian, the watchful protector, the pink knight. The romantic is another key piece of the puzzle. Gumball's over-the-top romantic gestures for Penny all go horribly wrong. Richard is not in this episode, because Richard is the master of the romantic gesture. His love for Nicole isn't expressed through treasure hunts and flash mobs. It's expressed through a lifetime of unwavering couch-based devotion. He knows that true romance isn't about grand gestures, it's about being a constant, reliable presence. Gumball has to learn this lesson the hard way. Richard has already perfected it. And The Uploads, a sequel of sorts to the compilation. The boys are trapped watching an endless stream of terrible internet videos. Richard is absent. He would never get trapped like this. His attention span is not short. It is perfectly honed. He can watch television for 18 hours straight, but he chooses his content. He is a curator of his own media consumption. He would never fall victim to the algorithm, to the endless scroll of mindless content. He is the master of his own feed. The Apprentice provides a fascinating glimpse into Richard's hidden business acumen. Gumball tries to impress Patrick Fitzgerald by becoming his apprentice. He fails. Richard is not there. But imagine if he were. He would have, through a series of accidents, secured the Shanak's contract, bankrupted the Goblin, and ended up owning the golf course, all while appearing to be trying to find the snack table. Patrick's world of structured business deals is child's play to a man who can orchestrate a corporate takeover just to get a special hamburger. The Hug is about the self-perpetuating cycle of social awkwardness. Again, no Richard. He is the prime mover of awkwardness, but he is never its victim. He is the source, not the recipient. His ability to say or do the exact wrong thing at the exact right time is a tool he uses to control social situations. He creates awkwardness in others to maintain his own comfort. He is a master of emotional Aikido and the wicked. Margaret Robinson is revealed to be pure evil. Richard is not in the episode. Margaret's evil is petty, chaotic, and ultimately ineffective. She causes mischief. Richard's chaos restructures reality and teaches profound life lessons. She is a street-level villain. He is a cosmic entity. He doesn't appear in her story because they're not in the same league. It would be like putting a god in a story about a shoplifter. So let us be clear. The image of Richard Watterson as a bumbling, lazy fool is the most successful disinformation campaign in modern television. He is a puppeteer of unparalleled skill, a strategist who plays 4D chess while his family plays checkers. He has engineered a perfect life for himself, and in doing so, has secretly guided his family toward their best possible selves. all while they believe they're simply cleaning up his messes. He's not just the laziest man in Elmore, he is, without a doubt, the secret, silent, slumbering king of his own chaotic universe. Let's dissect the profound implications of the night. The episode is a tour through the subconscious minds of Elmore's residents. Richard's dream is that he is dough being made into a bun, a process that happens while he rolls on top of Nicole. This isn't just a food dream. This is a deeply symbolic representation of his worldview. He sees himself as a passive ingredient, something that is shaped and formed by external forces, in this case his wife, into something warm and comforting. He is not the baker. He is the bread. This isn't a confession of weakness. It's an acknowledgement of his role in the family ecosystem. He provides passive comfort and substance, while Nicole provides the active, shaping energy. It is a dream of perfect symbiosis. Now, contrast this with the other dreams. Gumball's is about anxiety and falling. Mr. Small's is about claustrophobia. Carrie's is a nightmare of colour and joy. They are all rooted in conflict and fear. Richard's is about peaceful, purposeful transformation. He is the only character whose subconscious is not at war with itself. It is a mind completely at peace, a state of zen that his conscious self perfectly mirrors. His dream isn't an escape from reality, it's a confirmation of it. In The Misunderstandings, Gumball creates a chain reaction of social disasters because he misinterprets various signals. Richard's role is a key catalyst. He crashes his car because he thinks Gumball is giving him driving directions. A simple mistake? No. Richard's powerful mind, ever-seeking patterns, sees Gumball's frantic gestures and imposes a logical system onto them, the system of traffic direction. The crash isn't his fault. It's the fault of a world that isn't operating on his advanced level of pattern recognition. He saw a signal and responded logically. It is not his fault the signal was meaningless noise. This highlights a key aspect of his genius. He operates on a different logical framework. In The Blame, when Gumball and Darwin argue that video games are beneficial, Richard is among the parents who seem to disagree. But his objection isn't moral. He has mastered the ultimate video game, life. He has found all the cheat codes, laziness, exploits, weaponized incompetence, and has achieved the high score, a life of total leisure. From his perspective, the simplistic, pixelated challenges of a video game are a pale imitation of the complex, multi-layered game he plays every day. He's not against video games, he's simply moved beyond them. Let's re-examine his financial acumen in The Signature. He is tricked by Frankie, but the episode ends with him, victorious, having made Louis the new patriarch. The key is his emotional outburst. His initial explosive reaction to the marriage news is what sets the entire chain of events in motion. His immaturity is the trigger that forces the kids to intervene, which leads to the adoption war, which leads to Frankie's return, which leads to the final checkmate at City Hall. It was all a long, calculated game of emotional dominoes, and Richard's feigned tantrum was the first piece to fall. In The Sale, his attachment to Mr. Robinson is played as a joke. He worships a man who despises him. But this is not unrequited friendship. This is a strategic alliance that only Richard understands. Mr. Robinson is the perfect foil. His constant grumpiness and anger provide the friction that generates the chaotic energy on which the Watterson household thrives. Richard doesn't love Mr. Robinson as a friend. He values him as a necessary component in his reality-generating engine. His devastation at Mr. Robinson's departure is the fear of losing a key power source. His role in The Gift is also far more complex than it appears. The kids are trying to find a gift for Masami. Richard's suggestion is to get her nothing. Gumball and Darwin dismiss this as lazy and unhelpful, but it's profound advice. He understands that Masami, a girl who has everything, desires nothing material. The taste for life that the kids eventually try to give her is just a more complicated version of Richard's original, elegant solution. He saw the truth of the situation instantly, but his wisdom was too pure, too simple for his children to comprehend. They had to go on a long, convoluted journey just to arrive back at his starting point. The episode of the parking is a masterpiece of Richard's philosophy in action. The family is trapped in a hellish quest for a parking space. Nicole, the embodiment of action and aggression, becomes increasingly frantic and violent. Richard's role? He is the calm centre. He sings songs. He plays I Spy. He's not oblivious to the crisis. He's simply refusing to participate in the anxiety. He's demonstrating to his family that the struggle, the rage, the desperation, it's all a choice. One can simply choose to be at peace, even in a car going nowhere. His eventual victory, parking in front of their own house, is the universe bending to his will. The world literally rearranged itself to bring him back to his starting point, his home, his couch. He didn't find a parking spot. He summoned it. The routine is the episode that comes closest to telling the truth. It frames Richard's trip to the store as a heroic quest. This is not just a fantasy. It is a glimpse into how Richard perceives himself. He sees the mundane world as a landscape of adventure and peril. A toll booth is a troll's bridge. The supermarket is a dragon's lair. This isn't delusion. It's an act of radical reinterpretation. He has chosen to live in a world of myth and legend. His genius is not just in manipulating others, but in completely rewriting the genre of his own life. In the compilation, Richard's clip is him reviewing a calculator. Look at what he's actually doing. He's pressing buttons at random, creating combinations, looking for a hidden pattern or a secret game. He's not a fool who doesn't know what a calculator is. He's an explorer, a hacker, refusing to accept the device's stated function. He is probing the system for its secrets, for the ghost in the machine. It is the purest form of intellectual curiosity. In the scam, the kids run a Halloween scam. Richard's absence is critical. Why? Because Richard doesn't need to scam people for candy. The universe provides. If Richard wanted candy, a truck full of candy would mysteriously crash into his living room. He has no need for the petty deceptions of his children because he operates on a much higher, more direct level of acquisition. He doesn't trick the world, he commands it. Let's not forget his brief but pivotal role in The Slap. He is not involved in the central plot, but his entire being is a silent commentary on it. Gumball's desperate need for social validation from Tobias is a prison of the ego. Richard is a man who has completely dismantled his ego. He has no need for validation from Tobias or anyone else. He is a walking, talking embodiment of the freedom that Gumball spends the entire episode desperately and foolishly trying to find. And the detective. Richard's clue about the bathroom noise is the key that unlocks the whole mystery for Aeneas. Think about the precision of this. He could have told her the whole story. He could have said, "The boys had a sugar rush and broke your doll." But he didn't. He gave her just enough information to empower her to solve it herself. It's not just smart, it's a masterclass in parenting. He fosters her independence and her intellect by providing a perfectly calibrated piece of intelligence. Let's go back to the heist for a moment. His plan to bury the money and tunnel out of prison is absurd. But what if the flash forward wasn't a joke? What if it was the real plan? He knew he would serve 20 years. He knew the forks were useless. The point was to let time do the work. By the time he gets out, the money is spent, the economy is stimulated, and the crime is a distant memory. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a get-away-with-it slowly masterpiece. He's playing the longest of long games, and his performance in The Singing. His song is a passionate, heartfelt ode to unhealthy food. It's so powerful it convinces Larry, the guardian of health and safety, to give in. This isn't just a man who likes chicken. This is a bard, a siren, whose song can break the will of lesser men. His love for food is so pure, so powerful that it becomes a weapon of persuasion. He doesn't just eat, he evangelizes. In The Best, Gumball is tormented by Carmen's constant wrong-shaming. Richard is not in the episode, because no one can wrong-shame Richard. He is immune to criticism. If you told him he was doing something wrong, he would either not understand, not care, or reinterpret your criticism as a compliment. He is a fortress of self-acceptance, a shield against the judgments of the world. A plot driven by social correction cannot sustain a character who is fundamentally uncorrectable, and the worst. His argument is that being an adult who has to avoid responsibility is the hardest life. This is his magnum opus of manipulation. He frames his life of leisure as a difficult, burdensome struggle. It's a rhetorical move so brilliant it defies belief. He has successfully convinced his family that his inaction is a form of hard labour. It is the ultimate inversion of logic, the final victory of his intellect over the entire concept of work. Let us revisit the events of The Return. Richard oversleeps, losing his children. His frantic search is a slapstick disaster. He calls the school and claims they have the bubonic plague. He mistakes Banana Barbara's car for his own. He thinks the kids were exported in a bull pit. But look at the subtext. He creates a narrative of such epic failure that when he finally succeeds, it feels like a monumental triumph. He isn't just finding his kids, he's constructing a heroic saga around his own incompetence. By the time he crashes a stolen truck into the school, he's not a forgetful father. He's a hero who has overcome impossible odds. He controls the story. In the crew, Gumball and Darwin join the senior citizens' crew. Richard is not a part of this. Why would he be? He has no desire to join a crew, a gang, or any social unit. He is a sovereign nation of one. The episode explores the desire to belong, to be part of a group. Richard has no such desire. He is already complete. The social struggles of his sons are a foreign language to a man who is his own beginning, middle, and end. And in the others, Aeneas reveals to Gumball and Darwin that there are other students and other classes in their school. They, in their self-centred worldview, had never noticed. Richard is the master of this worldview. His universe consists of his couch, his fridge, and the path between them. The revelation that the world is larger and more complex than one's own perception is a lesson he has spent his entire life successfully avoiding. He is not just self-centred, he has achieved a state of solipsistic nirvana. Let us look at the signature again. The legal battle over adoption is pure chaos. Richard's move to adopt Louis to stop the wedding is seen as petty and childish, but it is a brilliant legal manoeuvre. He uses the system's own absurd logic against it. He recognises that in the world of Elmore, legal documents are just another tool in a game of emotional warfare. He doesn't see the law as a sacred institution. He sees it as another set of rules to be bent, broken, and exploited for his own gain. He is a legal scholar of the highest, most chaotic order. In The Pest, Richard is not there to help with Billy's bullying of Aeneas. Gumball and Darwin try and fail. Richard's absence forces his children to confront a problem that requires a different kind of strength. His usual method, absurd, chaotic intervention, would not have worked on a character as single-minded as Billy. By staying away, he allows Aeneas to find her own strength, culminating in her epic run-up powered kick. He is a sensei who knows that sometimes the greatest lesson is taught through absence, and we must consider the events of The Blame again. Richard's final suggestion is that parents should be more responsible. This is his ultimate act of trolling. A man who has built a monument to irresponsibility stands before a group of panicked parents and tells them the solution is to be more responsible. It is a statement so hypocritical, so utterly divorced from his own reality, that it transcends mere advice. It is a piece of performance art designed to expose the utter foolishness of everyone in the room. He is holding a mirror up to them, and the reflection is a glorious, unflattering truth. His brief but telling role in The Roots is another masterpiece. He participates in the family's delusion that Darwin needs to be reconnected with his fish origins. He eats worms. He wears an ocean-themed outfit. He is not simply enabling their madness. He is a method actor, fully immersing himself in the role to make the eventual lesson more impactful. He knows the whole thing is based on a misunderstanding, so he commits to the play with gusto, ensuring that when the curtain falls, the emotional impact for his family will be maximised. Let's go back to the plot. An episode not in the provided files, but one that is thematically crucial. Richard is a master of narrative. When the family is trapped in a boring plot, it is often Richard who, through some accidental act of chaos, derails it and pushes them into a more interesting story. He is the enemy of boring exposition. He's a narrative anarchist, constantly fighting to make his own life, and the show itself more entertaining. His stupidity is a weapon against boredom. In the awkwardness, the lack of Richard is the story. The episode is an exercise in escalating social pain. Richard is the antidote to that pain. His complete lack of shame, his willingness to be absurd, would have shattered the awkward tension between Gumball and Hot Dog Guy in an instant. He would have broken the sync, ended the loop and freed them from their social prison, all by probably asking to borrow $1 for a hot dog he had no intention of paying for. His intelligence is even evident in his absence from the matchmaker. Gumball plays matchmaker for Darwin and Carrie, based on a misunderstanding. Richard would have never made such a mistake. His emotional intelligence, while seemingly non-existent, operates on a primal level. He understands love not through photos or social media, but through shared meals and couch time. He would have sensed that Darwin's affection was for Carrie, not Terry, just by observing the way Darwin passed the potato chips. He is a romantic savant. In the box, the family imagines the contents of a mysterious package. Richard's fantasy is that he is a super spy named Lazarus, activated by a phone call. This is not just a silly daydream. This is a glimpse into his secret inner life. He sees himself as a dormant hero, a sleeper agent waiting for the call to save the day. The fact that his heroism in the fantasy is still clumsy and disastrous is his own subconscious mind applying his strategic incompetence to a spy thriller. He's so committed to the bit that even his daydreams are in character. Let's analyse his role in the console one more time. He gives Gumball the cursed game child. Where did he get it? The awesome store. This is a place that sells dangerous reality-warping artifacts. Richard is not just a customer, he is a connoisseur of chaos. He deliberately sought out and purchased an item he knew would plunge his family into a digital nightmare. Why? For the experience, for the lesson, for the sheer, unadulterated fun of it all. He's a dungeon master who has trapped his family in a game of his own choosing, and his baldness in the stars. His refusal to admit he is bald is the central conflict. It drives Gumball and Darwin to create the disastrous 5-star review system, but Richard is not in denial. He's engaging in an act of profound philosophical resistance. He is rejecting the objective reality of his own scalp. He is making a statement. My reality is what I say it is. The fact that a beam of light from his not bald head is what ultimately saves the town by causing Larry to hit the 0-star button is the universe itself conceding to Richard's version of the truth. He didn't just deny reality, he defeated it. And finally, let us consider his ultimate triumph in the finale. The family's past misdeeds are catching up to them. They are facing financial ruin, legal trouble and expulsion. The world is collapsing around them. Anais, the supposed genius, devises complex plans. They all fail. Richard's initial plan? Hijack a bus and scam people. It's stupid, chaotic, and it also fails. But every action he takes makes the situation worse. He escalates the chaos. He pushes the town to the brink. He helps create a situation so dire, so completely unsalvageable that the only possible solution is the one Gumball lands on, a complete reality reset. Richard didn't try to solve the problem. He made the problem so big that the universe had to solve it for him. He didn't fix the show, he forced a reboot. That is not the act of an idiot. That is the act of a god. We must return to the concept of weaponized incompetence, and Richard is its grandmaster. In The Vase, Nicole tasks the children with breaking an indestructible vase from Granny Jojo. They fail. They then take it to Richard, the most surefire way of guaranteeing something will break, and for the first time in his life, he is unable to be clumsy. He handles the vase with the grace of a ballet dancer. This is not a sudden bout of competence. This is a deliberate, malicious act of non-compliance. He knows they want him to break it, so he chooses not to. His incompetence is a tool that he can turn on and off at will, deploying it only when it serves his ultimate purpose, avoiding any form of effort or responsibility that he did not personally choose. Consider the events of the check again. His children are tearing each other apart over $5,000. His intervention seems fatherly, but it's a power play. He confiscates the check, not to teach a lesson, but to take control of the asset. The ensuing chase is his way of testing his family's resolve. How far will they go for money? He pushes them to acts of cartoonish violence and vehicular madness. The lesson they learn is secondary to the data he's collecting. He's a social scientist, and his family is his long-term study group. The final reveal that the check is for $50 is his punchline, a joke played on his test subjects. His brief but essential role in The Pest is often overlooked. He's not in the episode, which details Aeneas's torment at the hands of Billy. Gumball and Darwin's attempts to help are a disaster. Why is Richard absent? Because his presence would have solved the problem too easily, robbing Aeneas of her character development. Imagine Richard confronting Billy. He wouldn't fight him. He would likely try to befriend him in a way so deeply, profoundly weird, that Billy would be too psychologically scarred to ever bother Aeneas again. Richard would have absorbed the threat through sheer, passive absurdity. His absence is a narrative necessity to allow for a less efficient, but more emotionally resonant solution. Let's look at The Sale from another angle. Gumball and Darwin's motivation is to keep their beloved Mr. Robinson from moving. Richard is not shown to be emotionally invested. He participates in the final act of sabotage, the werewolf mask scene, under the guise of being fooled by his kids. But he is a willing participant. He doesn't care about Mr. Robinson, but he cares about his son's happiness. His stupidity in this instance is an act of love. He is willing to play the fool, to risk looking ridiculous, to help his children achieve their goal, even if he doesn't share it. It is a selfless act of calculated idiocy. The narrative of The Gift is driven by the children's fear of Masami, a girl whose wealth and power make her whims terrifying. Richard's contribution is the initial idea to give her nothing. This is dismissed as lazy, but it's the only correct answer. He has zero fear of Masami or her father. He is a being of such profound self-possession that social hierarchies and wealth are meaningless to him. He cannot be threatened, bribed, or impressed. His advice to give Masami nothing is him telling his children to treat her like a normal person, not a demigod, a lesson they have to learn through a harrowing ordeal of kidnapping and arson. Let's re-examine the parking. The entire episode is an exercise in futility. Richard is the only one who seems to be enjoying himself, singing songs and playing games. This isn't him being oblivious, it's him being enlightened. He understands that the destination, the mall, is irrelevant. The journey is the experience. He has turned a stressful, pointless errand into a family bonding adventure. Nicole sees a prison. Richard sees an opportunity for a sing-along. He has achieved a level of mindfulness that the others can't even begin to comprehend. He isn't stuck in traffic. He is the traffic. In the compilation, we see a clip of Richard's Buttersmere invention. It's a disgusting concoction, but it's an invention nonetheless. His mind is constantly working, creating, innovating. Most of his inventions are food-based and terrible, but that's not the point. The point is the creative impulse. He He is a relentless creator, a mad scientist of the culinary arts. While others see a mess, he sees progress. He is the Leonardo da Vinci of things you shouldn't eat. And we must discuss the love once more. His segment with Nicole is short but powerful. He doesn't need to sing a song or make a grand speech. He just hugs her. In an episode filled with complex, often dysfunctional portrayals of love, Richards is the most simple and the most profound. He has boiled love down to its essential component, physical comfort and silent understanding. He is a master of emotional economy. The awkwardness presents a world without Richard's social lubricant. The extreme discomfort Gumball and Hot Dog Guy experience is what happens when two people are trapped by social convention. Richard is a walking, talking demolition ball for social convention. He would have broken their painful cycle of synchronized behavior by doing something completely unpredictable, like trying to eat Hot Dog Guy's bun or asking Gumball if he could borrow his face. He is the chaos that sets people free. In The Nest, Richard's fear of the turtle hatchlings is played for laughs, but he is the first one to truly grasp the danger. The rest of the family tries to analyse, to understand, to reason. Richard's response is pure, primal fear, and he is right. The turtles are a menace that nearly destroys the town. His cowardice was simply an accurate threat assessment. He's a finely tuned danger sensor, and his first instinct is almost always the correct one, even if it's to run away screaming. And what about his role in The Fury? He is the helpless, loving husband, the man Yuki tries to seduce to get at Nicole. He plays the part of the pawn perfectly, but his helplessness is what fuels Nicole's rage. His apparent vulnerability is the catalyst for her to unleash her full power. He is not just the person she is protecting, he is the source of her strength. By being weak, he makes her strong. It is a beautiful, twisted and brilliant partnership. His logic in the misunderstandings is a thing of beauty. When he crashes the car because of Gumball's gestures, it's not a mistake. It is an act of protest. He is making a statement about the ambiguity of non-verbal communication. He is creating a real-world consequence to demonstrate the importance of clear, direct speech. The car crash is a very destructive, very expensive seminar on linguistics. And let's go back to the very beginning with the DVD. Richard is not in this episode. The conflict is Gumball and Darwin trying to replace a DVD to avoid Nicole's wrath. This is a problem born of fear and minor financial stakes. Richard's presence would have solved it instantly. He would have either eaten the broken DVD, confessed to Nicole with such pathetic charm that she couldn't stay mad, or fixed the DVD player by filling it with ham. His brand of chaos is a problem-solving tool, and its absence here makes the children struggle much harder than it needed to be. Finally, the responsible. Richard is tasked with getting a babysitter. He fails, getting a man who thinks the job is literally sitting on babies. This is not a mistake. This is a deliberate act of sabotage designed to force Gumball and Darwin into the role of responsible older siblings. He knew they would have to step up. He created a vacuum of responsibility, knowing his children would be forced to fill it. It was a risky, unorthodox, but ultimately successful parenting lesson. He didn't forget to hire a babysitter. He remembered to teach a life lesson. So, as we look back over the vast, complex tapestry of Richard's life, the pattern becomes clear. He is not the jester in the court of Elmore. He is the king pretending to be the jester. He is a hidden master, a silent guru, a chaotic force for good, or at least for his own good. His genius is not just hidden, it is encrypted, buried under layers of sloth and saturated fat. To understand Richard Watterson is to understand that the greatest intelligence lies not in showing how smart you are, but in convincing everyone else that you are not. And in that, he is the undisputed champion. Let us continue our descent. The episode The Third explores Gumball and Darwin's fear of growing bored of each other, leading them to seek a third friend. Richard's role is completely absent, and this absence is a statement. Richard has never been bored a day in his life. The concept is alien to him. His internal world is a universe of such rich, complex flavour combinations and nap scenarios that he has no need for external stimulation, let alone a third friend. He is his own best friend, second best friend, and third best friend. A story about the anxieties of social novelty cannot contain a being who has achieved perfect, solitary contentment. Now consider the debt. Gumball believes Mr. Robinson saved his life and becomes obsessed with repaying the debt. Richard is not involved in Gumball's misguided quest. Why? Because Richard understands the true nature of social debt better than anyone. He has built a life where he is in a perpetual state of social and financial debt to his wife, and he carries this a burden with a serene, untroubled grace. He knows that some debts are not meant to be repaid. They are simply the price of a comfortable existence. Gumball's frantic energy is the panic of an amateur. Richard is a seasoned professional in the art of owing everything to everyone and feeling absolutely fine about it. And the end. The children believe the world is ending. Richard is the only one who immediately believes them. He doesn't question it. He accepts it and leaps into action, leading a disastrous expedition to the supermarket. This isn't him being gullible. This is him embracing the narrative. His children have presented him with an exciting high-stakes story, the apocalypse, and he has chosen to become a main character. He's not a fool who believes the world is ending. He's an improvisational actor who has accepted the premise of the scene. His panic is a performance, a way of bonding with his children through a shared, albeit fictional, crisis. Let's re-examine the dress. Richard's role is to shrink Gumball's clothes, forcing him to wear Nicole's wedding dress. An accident or a calculated social experiment? By placing Gumball in this gender-bending situation, Richard sets off a chain of events that explores themes of beauty, identity and social power. Darwin falls in love with Gumball's alter ego. Gumball abuses his newfound power. It is a complex social drama, and Richard's laundry mistake was the inciting incident. He didn't just shrink a sweater, he launched a city-wide investigation into the fluidity of social constructs. In The Quest, Anais's doll is stolen by Tina. Richard is not a part of the heroic quest to retrieve it. This is a story for the children. But his influence is felt. Gumball and Darwin's fear of Tina, their reluctance to confront her, this is a fear Richard does not possess. He has no sense of social hierarchy or physical threat. If Daisy had been his doll, he would have simply walked up to Tina, asked for it back, probably offered her a half-eaten sandwich, and the situation would have been resolved through sheer disarming lack of intimidation. His absence allows for a more traditional hero's journey to unfold, and the spoon. Richard sends his sons to a gas station, where they get entangled with a robber. Richard's initial action, forgetting Nicole's birthday, is the catalyst, but his subsequent actions are pure genius. He gets tied up, he licks a hot dog off the floor, he seems utterly helpless. But his helplessness is what forces Nicole to become the hero. He creates a situation where his wife must unleash her full, ferocious power to save the day, giving her the greatest birthday gift of all, the thrill of victory and righteous fury. He didn't just forget her birthday, he gifted her a live-action action movie where she was the star. Let's analyse the pressure. The boys make a pals before gals pact. Richard is not in this story. The episode is about the conflict between platonic friendship and romantic interest, a core anxiety of adolescence. Richard has resolved this conflict. His best pal Wiz, his gal. His relationship with Nicole is a perfect fusion of friendship, romance, and shared love for processed cheese. He's achieved a relationship state so advanced that the episode's central dilemma is meaningless to him. He is post-conflict. The painting offers one of the clearest windows into Richard's soul. He is told by Principal Brown to get a job. His reaction is primal screaming. He tries to enter an office building and repeatedly fails. He is fired within minutes. This is not a man failing at work. This is a man whose entire being is violently rejecting the concept of employment. His body and the universe itself conspire to keep him in his rightful place, on the couch. His failure is not a personal flaw, it is a cosmic necessity. He is not unemployable. He is philosophically opposed to the entire institution of labour. In The Ghost, Carrie possesses Gumball to experience the joy of eating. Eventually, Gumball introduces her to Richard. This is the solution. Richard doesn't just eat. He is a vessel of pure, unadulterated consumption. Carrie possessing him isn't a violation. It's a perfect match. He has so much surplus capacity for gluttony that he can host a food-obsessed ghost and barely notice. He's not just a father, he's a timeshare for the gastronomically inclined undead. Let's re-examine the mystery. Principal Brown is found incapacitated in Gumball's locker. Richard is not part of the investigation. The mystery is solved by Bauber's video footage, revealing a Rube Goldberg-esque chain of accidents. But who is the master of the accidental chain reaction? Richard. It's highly probable that Richard, hours earlier, performed some seemingly insignificant act, dropping a banana peel, misplacing a can of oil, that set the entire sequence of disasters in motion. He is the unseen first domino, the chaotic architect of the entire mystery, and he leaves his children to solve the puzzle he created, and the prank. Richard engages in a prank war with his sons. He seems to be losing, becoming increasingly unhinged. This is the performance of a lifetime. He's pretending to lose control, to go insane, all to lure his sons into a false sense of security. His final prank, faking a psychotic breakdown and threatening them with a block of concrete, is not just a prank. It is a terrifying, immersive piece of psychological horror theatre designed to teach them a lesson they will never forget. Do not cross a master. He didn't just win the prank war, he scarred them for life, ensuring his dominance for years to come. In The Gi, the boys become obsessed with wearing karate gis. Richard not only encourages them but joins in, donning his old cottontail cavalier costume. This isn't him being childish, it is an act of profound solidarity. He sees his sons being ridiculed for their self-expression, and his response is to stand with them, to share in their public humiliation. He is teaching them that true strength isn't in a karate kick, but in the courage to be unapologetically yourself, even if that self is a middle-aged man in a superhero bunny costume. The kiss provides another look at his unique brand of fatherly wisdom. Gumball is traumatized by an accidental kiss from Granny Jojo. Richard is not involved in the trauma therapy. His wisdom is simpler. He would have likely told Gumball to just eat something so delicious it would erase the memory of the kiss. He understands that for a Watterson, most psychological trauma can be solved with a sufficient application of calories. His absence allows for a far more complicated and less effective solution to be attempted. Let's analyse the party. Richard's role is minimal but crucial. He is the one who honks the car horn at the end, interrupting Gumball and Penny's near kiss. An accident? A clumsy mistake? Absolutely not. It is a perfectly timed intervention. Richard understands that his son is not ready for that level of romantic commitment. He is the guardian of his son's childhood, the protector of his innocence. The honk isn't a noise, it's a paternal shield deployed at the last possible second. The refund is a battle of wits between Richard and Larry, the store clerk. Richard puts on a biker jacket and draws a moustache to be intimidating. This is not a disguise. It is a strategic shift in persona. He is adopting the archetype of tough customer to exploit Larry's fear of confrontation. When that fails, he simply takes the money from the register. It's a brilliant escalation. He tries social manipulation, and when that fails, he moves to direct action. The reveal of the tiny bear manager is a setback, but Richard's willingness to be physically mauled to achieve his goal shows his unwavering commitment. He is a warrior of commerce and the robot. Bobbert copies Gumball's identity. Richard's reaction? He is pleasantly surprised with Gumball's perfect grades. He accepts the Bobbert Gumball without question. This isn't him being fooled. This is him recognising a superior model. He sees that Bobbert is a more efficient, less troublesome version of his son, and he accepts the upgrade. It's a pragmatic, unsentimental decision. He is not losing a son. He is gaining a more optimised family unit. His love is not for the person, but for the peaceful, couch-centric lifestyle they can provide. In the picnic, Gumball and Darwin get lost in the Forest of Doom. Richard is not with them. The episode is a classic survival story, a test of character against the harshness of nature. Richard would have failed instantly, or rather, he would have succeeded so spectacularly it would ruin the story. He would have found a way to make the forest comfortable. He would have befriended the monsters, used the dangerous plants as seasonings, and found a naturally occurring couch-shaped rock to nap on. He's too powerful for a survival narrative. Let's look at the goons. Anais wants to learn how to be dumb like her father and brothers. Richard is the guru, the master of the dumb way. He lets her join their game of fruitball. He is not just playing, he is teaching. He is a sensei, passing down his ancient, sacred knowledge of how to live a life free from the burden of thought. His joy at her participation is the joy of a master seeing his student finally grasp the true path to enlightenment. In The Secret, the family is absent for most of the plot, which revolves around Gumball trying to get Darwin's secret. Richard's appearance at the end is key. Gumball and Darwin emerge from the toilet and Richard, washing his hands, merely wonders if he ate them. This is not a stupid question. This is a man whose internal world is so dominated by food that he genuinely considers the possibility that he may have subconsciously consumed his own children. It is a moment of terrifying, honest self-assessment. And the sock. The episode hinges on whether Richard ate Gumball's homework. He denies it, then confesses. This lie and confession are not about homework. It is a test. He is testing the loyalty of his sons, the investigative skills of Miss Simeon, and the structural integrity of the school's disciplinary system. The homework was just the bait. The true experiment was to see how the system would react to a logical absurdity. And the system broke. He didn't just eat a piece of paper, he conducted a sociological experiment. The genius shows the family reacting to Darwin being declared a genius. Richard's reaction is to cry, not because he will miss Darwin, but because Gumball vows to become a genius too, a development that threatens the very foundation of Richard's lazy utopia. Later, he and Nicole replace Darwin with Rocky, dressing him in Darwin's clothes. This is a swift, pragmatic solution. If one component of the family unit is removed, it must be replaced to maintain equilibrium. It is a cold, calculated and deeply intelligent approach to family management. In The Poltergeist, Richard is terrified of a ghost in the attic. The ghost turns out to be Mr. Robinson, who Gumball and Darwin are hiding. Richard's terror, however, is what keeps Nicole from discovering the boy's secret for most of the episode. His cowardice acts as a perfect shield, a wall of hysterical fear that misdirects his wife's attention. He is not scared of a ghost. He is a brilliant actor, creating a diversion to protect his sons from the consequences of their own bizarre actions. Let's re-examine the moustache. He accidentally switches the cereal with his protein supplements, but there are no accidents in Richard's world. He saw his sons lamenting their powerlessness as children, so he gifted them a temporary, terrifying taste of manhood. He knew the supplements would cause them to rapidly mature into grotesque, muscle-bound freaks. It was a lesson. A horrifying, body-morphing lesson about being careful what you wish for. He is not a clumsy oaf. He's a mad scientist using his own children as test subjects in his experiments on accelerated puberty. And the date. Richard's advice to Gumball is to be someone else, to be more successful. He takes him shopping at the dump. This seems like terrible advice. but it is a test of Gumball's character. Will he listen to his father and become a fake, a phony wearing a trash suit, or will he be himself? Richard's bad advice is a crucible designed to forge his son's authenticity. By offering the path of deception, he forces Gumball to ultimately choose the path of truth. It is parenting through reverse psychology. The club shows Richard as a member of the fantasy club. He is a geek, a nerd, but he is a happy one. While Gumball struggles to find a social group where he belongs, Richard is completely content in his niche. He doesn't need to be cool or popular. He has found his tribe. This is another lesson he teaches through example. True happiness is not about being accepted by everyone, but about finding the few weirdos who accept you for who you are, even if you're a grown man who still plays fantasy games. And the wand. Richard believes a plastic toy wand is magic. Gumball and Darwin are forced to secretly make his wishes come true. He wishes for sausages, for a sink to unclog, for the Robinsons to be humiliated. He seems like a child. But he is a general. He's testing the loyalty and resourcefulness of his troops, his sons. He gives them a series of impossible tasks under the guise of magical wishes, pushing them to their creative limits. He is not a believer in magic. He is a brilliant, unconventional drill sergeant. Let's look at the ape. Miss Simeon is depressed. The kids try to help her. Richard's contribution is to let her blow on his stomach to make flatulent noises. This seems crude, but it works. It's the one thing that genuinely makes her laugh. While his children are trying complex social strategies, Richard cuts through the noise with a single, perfect act of primal, stupid joy. He understands that sometimes the cure for depression isn't a long talk. It's a perfectly executed belly fart. In the car, Richard's workout machine is what destroys Mr. Robinson's car. He confesses this to his sons. This is a rare moment of honesty, but it's strategic honesty. By confessing to his sons, he enlists them as co-conspirators. He solidifies their bond through a shared dark secret. The final reveal that Nicole also destroyed the car just adds another layer. Richard's accident was part of a much larger family-wide symphony of destruction. They're not just clumsy, they're a coordinated demolition team, and the curse. The family tries to manifest Daisyland tickets through sheer willpower. It is Richard who leads this charge. He believes they can will things into existence. And what happens? A ticket, through a wildly improbable chain of events, flies into their hospital room. It gets shredded, but the principle is proven. Richard's belief in the power of thought is so strong that it actually works, albeit imperfectly. He's not just wishing, he's bending probability to his will. In The Microwave, Gumball and Darwin create a monster Kenneth. Richard's advice is to lay down the law. He gets eaten. This seems like a failure. But by getting eaten, he shows his sons the true extent of the danger. He sacrifices himself to provide them with crucial intelligence. Later, when freed, he is the one who wants to destroy the small, seemingly harmless Kenneth. He is the only one who sees the future threat. He is not just a victim, he is a prophet of doom, and his prophecies unfortunately come true. Let's analyse the meddler. Richard is absent for most of the episode, which focuses on Nicole meddling in Gumball's life. His absence is what allows Nicole's obsessive parenting to run rampant. Richard, in his passive, hands-off approach, is the necessary counterweight to Nicole's intense, overbearing nature. The episode is a demonstration of what happens when the family ecosystem is out of balance, when one parent's philosophy is allowed to dominate. Richard's laziness is not just for his own benefit, it is for the good of the entire family. And the helmet. Richard becomes obsessed with a lucky tinfoil helmet. He tricks Nicole, giving her a fake one so he can use the real one to win a speedboat on a game show. This is a shocking act of betrayal and selfishness. But it is also a lesson about belief. The helmet is just tinfoil. It has no power. Richard wins the boat not because of luck, but because his belief in the helmet gives him the confidence to succeed. He's teaching his family that the greatest power comes not from external objects, but from the unwavering, irrational confidence within yourself. The speedboat is just a teaching aid. Let's look at the fight. Richard's only contribution is the ridiculous bunny hop technique. But at the end of the episode, Gumball is cornered by Tina. He's about to be pulverised. Richard appears and tells him to use the bunny hop. It's insane advice. But it's the only advice he offers. He's not teaching his son how to fight. He's reminding him, in a moment of extreme peril, of who he is. A Watterson. And a Watterson does not solve problems with violence, but with absurdity. It is a moment of profound philosophical reinforcement. In The Bumpkin, the family tries to live a simpler potato-based lifestyle with Idaho. Richard is the first to crack ordering fast food. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's a mercy killing. He sees his family suffering, trying to live an ascetic life that is fundamentally alien to them. His act of ordering a burger is not selfish. It is a necessary act of sabotage to save them from their own misguided idealism. He is the guardian of their true, junk food-fueled nature. The Flakers shows Richard loopy from dental anaesthetics. He chases a giant hamburger in his hallucination. This is a glimpse into his unfiltered subconscious. Even when his higher brain functions are disabled, his mind is still focused on his primary goal, the acquisition of food. His focus is absolute, his drive unshakable. The hallucination isn't a random dream, it is the purest expression of his will. In The Authority, Granny Jojo's parenting is what made him the man he is. But the episode shows that her method of extreme safety creates mindless, helpless beings. Richard is not mindless or helpless. He is a master of his domain. This implies that he did not just succumb to her parenting, he observed it, analysed it, and chose to adopt the appearance of its effects as the perfect camouflage. He was not a victim of her system. He was its first and greatest student, who learned not how to be safe, but how to perfectly imitate being helpless. And the virus. Richard is not in this episode. The story about a literal computer virus and the dangers of germs is too mundane for him. He is a being who regularly eats food off the floor, who considers any surface a plate. The microscopic world of germs and viruses holds no terror for a man whose immune system has been forged in the fires of 1,000 dropped hot dogs. He is beyond hygiene. The Pony is about the kids being delayed on their way home by a series of absurd obstacles. Richard's role is to be at home, waiting. His waiting is not passive. He is the finish line. He is the destination. The entire madcap journey of his children is, in a way, a pilgrimage back to him, back to the calm, stable centre of their world. Their father, asleep on the couch. In The Hero, once more. His final act is to rescue Gumball from the car crusher. He succeeds, not through strength or skill, but through a series of clumsy, failing attempts that somehow result in success. This is his ultimate technique. He is a master of failing upwards. He embraces chaos, and the chaos rewards him. He doesn't defy the odds, he makes the odds irrelevant. He is a practitioner of quantum luck, a man who can fall into a disaster and land in a victory. The dream showcases Gumball's jealousy over a dream where Darwin kisses Penny. Richard appears in the dream as a centaur president. This isn't random dream logic. This is Gumball's subconscious mind correctly identifying his father's true nature. He is a figure of mythical power and ultimate authority, a being who gallops through reality leaving a trail of rainbows. Gumball's dream didn't create this image, it simply revealed the truth that was there all along. Let us analyse the sidekick. Darwin is tired of being Gumball's sidekick. Richard is not in this story about power dynamics and partnership, because Richard has no sidekick. He has no partner in the traditional sense. Nicole is his equal, his opposite, his anchor. But he is a solitary operator. His schemes are his own. He is the hero, the sidekick, the villain, and the audience of his own life story. The photo shows Gumball's struggle with being unphotogenic. Richard does not appear, because Richard has no vanity. He is a being of pure, unself-conscious existence. The idea of posing for a photo, of trying to present a curated image of himself to the world, is completely alien to him. He is always already his true self. He cannot be captured in a photo because his essence is too vast to be contained in a single frame. And the tag. Richard is in a feud with Mr. Robinson, both under house arrest. Richard's attempts at revenge are clumsy and backfire, but each failure escalates the conflict, pushing Mr. Robinson to greater heights of fury. Richard isn't trying to win the feud, he is trying to get a reaction. He is a performance artist, and Mr. Robinson is his unwilling collaborator. The feud is not a fight, it is a piece of interactive theatre, and Richard is the director. The Storm is about the cloying perfection of Alan and Carmen's relationship. Richard is absent. A story about the complexities and annoyances of teen romance has no room for a man who has achieved a state of perfect, simple, post-romantic bliss with his wife. He and Nicole do not have drama. They have a perfectly balanced system of chaos and order. The lesson sees Gumball and Darwin sent to detention, where they fall in with a bad crowd. Richard is not there to guide them, and so they learn a valuable lesson about crime and consequence. Richard's absence is once again a teaching tool. He allows them to explore the dark side, to make their own mistakes, knowing that the experience will ultimately make them stronger. It's a risky but effective form of moral education. And the game. The family is trapped inside the dodge or dar board. Game. Richard is the one who throws the dice that starts it all, and he is the one who seems to suffer the most amusingly, his face mangled by a dodgy. But he is enjoying it. He has plunged his family into a world of pure chaos, his natural element. He is not a player trapped in a game. He is a fish who has been returned to the water. The Limit shows Nicole reaching her breaking point and transforming into a monster. Richard's role is to be the primary target of her rage. He is the one who pushes her to the limit. But this is a necessary function. He is the whetstone on which her parental authority is sharpened. He creates the chaos that allows her to be the hero who restores order. He is the villain in her story so that she can be the saviour in her children's. It is the ultimate act of loving sacrifice. And the voice. The boys are tormented by a mysterious psychic entity, William. Richard does not appear. A story about a silent, misunderstood character communicating through telepathic rage is beyond Richard's purview. Richard is a being of overt communication. His desires are broadcast to the world through the volume of his snoring and the urgency of his requests for snacks. There is nothing subtle about him. The promise revolves around Darwin making a promise to Banana Joe that conflicts with a promise to Gumball. Richard is not in this episode about the complexities of social contracts and loyalty. Richard makes no promises. He lives in a state of perpetual, uncommitted present. A promise is a debt to the future, and Richard has no line of credit with tomorrow. In the castle, the house is overrun by Elmore residents because Richard can't say no. This is portrayed as a weakness, but it is his greatest strength. His inability to say no is an expression of his philosophy of absolute acceptance. He accepts the chaos. He accepts the freeloaders. He accepts the destruction of his home. It is only when Nicole, the force of no, returns that the party ends. Richard didn't fail to protect his house. He succeeded in creating a temporary utopia of absolute freedom. And the boombox. Duke, a character who speaks only in beatbox, tries to communicate a message. Richard is absent. Because Richard would have understood him perfectly. He does not rely on the literal meaning of words. He understands intent, emotion, rhythm. He would have listened to Duke's beatboxing, nodded sagely and said, "Ah, yes." Your switch is on the wrong setting and you'd also like a sandwich. He is a universal translator of the soul. In the tape, we see a home movie compilation. Richard's segment is him as a Mubus gelatinous, a creature of the sofa. This is not a joke made by his kids. This is Richard's true form, captured on film. He is a different species, a higher life form that has evolved beyond the need for ambition or movement. The documentary isn't mocking him. It is accurately documenting a newly discovered creature of profound and mysterious habits, and the sweaters. The boys are challenged to a fight by students from a rival school, which turns out to be a tennis match. Richard is not there. The episode is about toxic masculinity and the absurdity of school rivalries. Richard has no toxic masculinity. He has no masculinity at all in the traditional sense. He's a being of pure comfort, beyond such petty competitions. In the internet, the boys try to delete Gumball's embarrassing viral video. Richard is absent. Richard has no embarrassing videos, or rather his entire life is an embarrassing video, and he feels no shame. Shame is a prison he escaped from long ago. He cannot be embarrassed, so a story about the fear of online humiliation has no relevance to him. Finally, the plan. The kids believe a man named Daniel Leonard is trying to steal their mum. Richard is not involved in their elaborate paranoid scheme. He is at home, secure in his relationship with Nicole. He has no jealousy, no insecurity. While his children are spinning fantasies of betrayal and intrigue, he is living the simple, unshakable truth of his own happy marriage. He has no time for their drama, because he has no drama of his own. The master rests. Let's not forget the sheer intellectual audacity on display in the finale. Faced with the complete and utter ruin of their lives, social, financial, and legal, Richard's immediate response is to participate in a plan to scam the parents of high-achieving students. This is not a desperate last-ditch effort. This is Richard applying his core philosophy to a crisis situation. The system is broken. Don't fix it. Exploit it. Society has turned on you. Don't placate it. Milk it for cash. His thinking is so lateral, so completely unbound by conventional morality, that it loops back around to a kind of genius. He's a problem solver whose solutions are so bizarre they are indistinguishable from the problems themselves. And his ultimate contribution to the finale is to help escalate the chaos to an untenable degree. He helps push the entire town of Elmore over the edge. This is not him making things worse. This is him accelerating the narrative towards its only possible conclusion. He understands, on an instinctive, meta level, that their situation is so fundamentally broken that the only way out is a total collapse, a narrative reboot. He is not just a character in the finale. He is an agent of the finale itself, a force of nature ensuring that the story reaches its explosive, necessary end. He is the show's own self-destruct button. The episode The Move, which is not in the list, is still thematically relevant. Gumball and Darwin get into a stink-eye contest with Clayton. Richard would never be in such a contest. A stink-eye is a non-verbal assertion of dominance and disapproval. Richard has no need to assert dominance, as his is absolute and unspoken, and he has no disapproval for anything, except perhaps for vegetables. He is a being of pure acceptance. A contest of judgment is a game he would never even think to play. Let's look again at the law, another episode not in the provided files but whose theme is central to the Richard doctrine. Gumball learns about the importance of the law. Richard's entire life is a quiet, successful rebellion against all forms of law, social, physical and governmental. He does not pay taxes. He does not obey the laws of physics when it comes to his own body's limits, and he does not adhere to any social contract that involves effort. He's not lawless. He's a living embodiment of a different higher law, the law of least resistance. And what of the allergy? Darwin develops a psychosomatic allergy to stupidity. If such an allergy were real, Richard's mere presence would be a weapon of mass destruction. The air around him would become a miasma of pure, life-threatening idiocy. But Darwin is not allergic to Richard. Why? Because Richard's stupidity is of a different kind. It is not the grating, pointless stupidity of others. It is a transcendent, purposeful stupidity. It is a work of art. Darwin isn't allergic to stupidity. He's allergic to bad art. And Richard is a master. The Mothers is an episode about a competition to find the best mum. Richard is on the sidelines. He does not need to compete for the title of best dad. He has already won by default by redefining the terms of what a dad is. He's not a provider, a protector, or a disciplinarian. He's a spiritual guide, a guru of relaxation. The other dads are playing checkers. Richard has already ascended to a higher plane and become the board. In the password again, the final reveal of the password as password is his ultimate joke. He created a family-wide crisis, a psychological war, a series of betrayals and emotional breakdowns, all for the sake of the oldest, simplest, dumbest password joke in the book. The sheer disproportion between the chaos he caused and the simplicity of the punchline is a testament to his genius as a comedian of the absurd. He is not just a father, he is a performance artist whose medium is his family's sanity. The Procrastinators shows Gumball and Darwin trying to avoid taking out the trash. They are amateurs. Richard is the professional. He's not in the episode because it is a story about the student, not the master. The boys struggle for a day to do what Richard has been doing for his entire life. Their pathetic, frantic attempts at procrastination are a pale shadow of Richard's serene, effortless state of perpetual doing it later. Let's look at the shell. Gumball and Penny's relationship deepens. Richard is only a background character, because this is a story about young love, about the anxieties and joys of a first romance. Richard's love story is already written. He's in the final chapter, a comfortable epilogue of shared snacks and mutual understanding. He has no place in the turbulent, dramatic first act of his son's romance. He is the happily ever after that Gumball is still striving for. In The Burden, the boys mistake a clump of Principal Brown's waxed hair for a hamster. Richard's only role is to accidentally try to cook it. This is not a mistake. His finely tuned senses, honed by years of culinary exploration, immediately identified the object not as a living creature, but as a potential foodstuff. His instincts were not wrong. They were simply operating on a level of gastronomic curiosity that is beyond our comprehension. He didn't see a pet or hare. He saw a culinary challenge. The Bros is about Gumball and Darwin's codependent friendship being threatened by Penny. Richard is absent. A story about the fear of a friendship changing has no place for a man who has no friends and seems to exist in a changeless state of being. Richard does not evolve. He simply is. The anxieties of his children are a product of their temporal changing existence. Richard is eternal. And in the mirror, the family is tormented by a cursed email from the Snatcher. Richard is a victim alongside everyone else, but his reaction is telling. He is scared, but he is also, on some level, entertained. A supernatural curse is just another interesting thing happening between naps. His mind is so open to the absurd that a ghost trying to steal his soul is just another Tuesday. He is not just unafraid of the unknown. He finds it vaguely amusing. The man revolves around Richard's inability to accept his mother's new boyfriend. This regression to a childlike state is a strategic retreat. He becomes a child to force Granny Jojo to become a mother again, to remind her of her primary role in his life. The man-off with Louis is not a competition, it's an audition. He is forcing his potential new stepfather to prove his worth. It is a bizarre, deeply manipulative, but ultimately successful series of emotional job interviews, and the pizza, the family's bad day, culminates in them ordering a pizza. Richard's specifications for the pizza are impossibly complex. He is not being a difficult customer. He is testing the limits of the service industry. He is a chaos agent, inserting a single, impossibly complex request into the system to see how it reacts. The eventual breakdown of society caused by Larry quitting all his jobs is the successful result of his experiment. He didn't just order a pizza, he stress-tested civilization. In The Lie, Gumball invents a holiday to cure January depression. Richard is an enthusiastic participant. He doesn't question the logic of Sluzzle-tag. He embraces it. He understands that reality is a shared illusion, and if you can get enough people to believe in a new illusion, it becomes real. He's not just celebrating a fake holiday. He's participating in a practical lesson on the social construction of reality. And the butterfly. A single butterfly causes a chain reaction of disasters across Elmore. Richard is a victim, sucked into a tornado, but he is also a symbol. He is the embodiment of the chaos theory that the episode illustrates. He is the butterfly. His smallest, most insignificant actions, like deciding to get a snack, have the potential to cause town-wide reality-bending consequences. He's not just a character in the story, he is the scientific principle it is based on. The question sees Gumball and Darwin searching for the meaning of life. Richard's answer is the indulgence of the senses, stuffing his face. This is dismissed as simplistic hedonism, but it is a profound philosophical stance. He is an Epicurean philosopher of the highest order. He has found the meaning of life, and it is to experience the simple, direct, physical joys of existence. While his sons are lost in existential angst, he is already in paradise, and that paradise tastes like a chili dog. And the saint. Gumball tries to find Alan's breaking point. Richard is not in this episode. A story about trying to corrupt a pure soul is irrelevant to a man who has no concept of corruption or purity. Richard exists beyond good and evil. He is a force of nature, like a hurricane or a gnat. You cannot corrupt a hurricane, you can only hope it doesn't happen over your house. In The Friend, the kids create an imaginary friend who turns out to be a real lonely chimera. Richard's reaction is to panic and call the police. This is not cowardice. It is the correct response of a responsible adult to a home invasion by a mythical creature. For once, Richard's simplistic, direct approach is the only sane one. While his children are trying to empathise with the monster, he is the only one who recognises it as a threat. He is the voice of reason in a house of naive monster tamers, and the oracle. The family finds Banana Barbara's paintings that predict the future. Richard's role is to be a clumsy participant who helps the prophecies come true. He is not a victim of fate. He is its willing accomplice. He understands that the future is already written, so why fight it? His accidents are him simply helping the universe get to its destination a little faster. He is a humble servant of destiny. Finally, let's close this chapter by looking at the safety. Darwin becomes a safety-obsessed tyrant. Richard is one of his first victims, his food replaced by nutrient paste. He goes along with it, chanting, "It is for our own good." This is not him being brainwashed. This is him recognising a new ruling power and immediately adapting to it. He is a political survivor of the highest order. He will happily chant the slogans of any regime, as long as that regime continues to provide him with some form of sustenance. He is not a victim of tyranny. He is its most pragmatic and therefore most successful citizen. The genius of Richard Watterson, therefore, is not a secret to be discovered, but a truth to be accepted. He is the quiet engine of the show's chaos, the philosophical core of its absurdity, and the hidden master of a game we're only just beginning to understand. To see him as a fool is to miss the point entirely. To see him as a genius is to begin to see the world as he does, a grand, comfortable, and endlessly amusing joke, and he is always in on it. Let us consider the nobody. Rob, forgotten by the universe, returns as a disfigured nobody. Richard is a target of the chaos Rob causes, having his toothbrush used and being accused of things he didn't do. Richard's reaction is confusion and denial, which is exactly what a normal person would do. But this is the genius of his camouflage. When faced with a genuine anomaly, a true break in reality like Rob's return, Richard's persona of the normal lazy dad becomes the perfect disguise. He acts exactly as a fool would, thereby giving no one any reason to suspect he understands the cosmic implications of what is happening. He is hiding his omniscience behind a mask of perfect, believable ignorance. And in The Downer, Gumball has a hallucinatory episode where he believes his family has disappeared. Richard's advice, which Gumball tries to remember, is the key. While the advice is likely something absurd about food, the fact that Richard is the source of wisdom Gumball seeks in his darkest moment is telling. Even in Gumball's subconscious, his father is the anchor, the source of potential salvation, even if that salvation comes in the form of a nonsensical food-based aphorism. Let's look at the egg. The family has a playdate with the Parhams. Richard's social ineptitude is on full display. He makes terrible jokes and creates an awkward atmosphere. This is not him failing at social interaction. This is him actively torpedoing Nicole's attempt at social climbing. He sees her stressful, vain attempt to impress Felicity, and he recognises it as a path to misery. His failures are a deliberate act of sabotage, designed to save his wife from the trap of keeping up with the Joneses. He is protecting his family's chaotic happiness from the sterile, judgmental world of the social elite and the triangle. Gumball is jealous of Darwin's musical talent. Richard is not in this episode. A story about sibling rivalry and jealousy is too petty for his grand stage. Richard has no rivals. He's in a league of his own. The concept of being jealous of someone else's talent is meaningless to a man whose greatest talent is doing nothing at all. A talent in which he is the undisputed world champion. In The Money, the family loses all their money, and their world literally begins to de-res, to lose its animation budget. Richard is the cause, having thrown their savings into the sea, an act of supreme stupidity, or an act of supreme artistic commentary. He didn't just lose their money, he demonstrated, in the most literal way possible, the connection between wealth and the very fabric of their animated existence. He conducted a live, televised experiment on the economic underpinnings of their universe. It was a piece of meta-commentary so profound it nearly erased them from existence. Let's look at The Greed, an episode not in the files but whose theme is Richard's masterpiece. The family is infected by a spirit of greed. Richard, you would assume, would be the most susceptible, but often in these stories his desires are so simple and pure, for a specific snack, not for wealth in general, that he is immune to the more complex forms of greed that corrupt others. His gluttony is a shield against avarice. He wants a donut, not all the donuts. This distinction is the key to his enlightenment. In The X, once more, Richard's absence is a statement. Gumball is trying to win back the affection of his nemesis. It's a story about the need for conflict, for opposition, to define oneself. Richard has no need for a nemesis. He is already perfectly defined. His identity is not relational. It is absolute. He is Richard Watterson. The statement is complete. There is nothing to add and nothing to oppose, and the diet revisited. His transformation into a grotesquely buff monster is not just a joke about steroids. It is a visual thesis on identity. He shows that the perfect male body is just as much a prison as his imperfect one. He explores both extremes and finds them wanting. His return to his natural lazy state is not a defeat. It's a conscious, informed choice. He has done the research, and he has concluded that the couch is, indeed, the optimal state of being. Finally, let us reflect on Richard's role across the entire saga. He is the constant. While other characters learn lessons, grow and change, Richard remains the unmovable, unshakable centre. This is not a lack of development. It is the sign of a character who has already reached his final form. He is not on a journey, because he has already arrived at the destination. and that destination is a state of perfect harmony with himself and the universe, a harmony that we, in our frantic, ambitious lives, can only look upon with a mixture of confusion and frustration,